Ah. T-shirt's a little bit too high up there. All right. Oh, man. Got my shirt. Dustin Dodd. Right on, man. What's going on in the great state of California, man? Orlando, Debbie. How's your channel going, Corey? Still doing any videos out there? Can you all hear me? Wade Ransom. Right on, man. Make sure I got nothing in my teeth there. I was eating ribs. I always got to make sure I got nothing in my teeth. That'd be kind of embarrassing. Ah, Debbie, Phil, right? Yeah, I did, Sam. Yes, sir. I'll be doing a video on that. Daniel, happy Sunday to you too. Indy, Corey, you got to make it a priority to do the videos, man. Make it time block it. Easier said for me because I don't work, but I tell you, man, you got to make it. If you're gonna do a YouTube channel, my friends, you got to make it a priority. You got to do it. You just got to get the hello, Miss Jill. You got to get the muscles built to do the videos for sure. I don't know if y'all saw the video I did yesterday with Connie Willis, and I don't know if you have any science fiction readers here, but she I never come across Connie Willis, but she was interesting. She was saying how she was rejected. She went to the post office. She had to walk down the post office because they didn't have home delivery in her town called Woodland Parks outside of Colorado Springs. I don't know where that is. Anyway, she had to walk down there, and she had a letter in there, Sam, right on. She had a letter in there that in her box had come to the counter. And when they came to the counter, they gave her a stack of eight rejection slips from magazines she had sent some of her stories to. And so she's like walking home, with her little puppy, ready for my wisdom, says Jay. Yikes. And that's kind of frightening. Right on, Rob. So she's walking home with her puppy dog, and she goes, maybe this is a sign from above to give it all up and, go back to being a teacher or something like that. And she goes, Jerry, yeah, Dana, yep. All right, anyway, let me tell you a story about Connie. So she went back, and she had 2 self-addressed stamped envelopes yet. And she goes, I might as well send them out. And essentially, if those got rejected, we'd never heard of Connie Willis, the writer. And just thankfully, one of them happened to come to be picked up by some no-name institution, but that led to another one, which led to another one. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. So don't give up. And Jerry, if you're doing videos, I hope you're doing them every day too, my friend. You gotta keep them up there, brother. If you don't keep them up, no one's gonna. Even if you do them every day, no one's gonna know you. But you gotta keep up with it. All right, so my man Dan says, can you discuss strategies to use 401k and IRA funds after age 70 to take delay taking Social Security? How does this part-time from work play into this? Okay. I'm not sure how part-time from work would play into it, other than it just gives you some extra income where you can take less from your 401k and IRA. So the premise here is that if you need, we want to delay taking Social Security as long as we can, simply because Social Security is the greatest investment there is from a perspective of an 8% per year delayed earnings credits that's also adjusted with cost of living adjustment. I cannot stress enough. Don B. Actually, wait a second. No, we'll get that. We're still a little bit early. Nah, right on, Jerry. It's not as easy. I got you. See, that's the benefit I have that you might, is I got 20 years in this noggin of financial planning stuff to talk on. I got stacks and papers and just tons of, y'all can't see it, but just behind me here, tons of papers, stacks, and of course, then I get sent, you guys send me stuff all the time too, which just adds to my anti-library, so to speak, where I just got too many things to talk. It was good. It's a good problem to have, but it's just like I'll never get done with them anytime soon because I got too much stuff to say. Because Texas, right on, when you're in the business of being a regulated financial advisor, you can't say anything. In fact, I had a guy email me the other day. I did a long time ago, I did a video on Israeli bonds, and I thought it was interesting. And a guy who works for Israeli bonds, I guess, came across it last week and emailed me. I said, hey, I'd be happy to interview you for the podcast. He said, I can't. My compliance department won't let me. I said, this is what's freaking wrong about my business, is, to talk basic stuff and compliance says no. I mean, why? When did the SEC ever come down? The SEC is the Security Exchange Commission, and said no financial advisor can tell you to freaking scratch your head. I mean, this is freaking nuts, man. J-Dub, Mike C. It's insane. And yet all these businesses are so scared because they're like, look, we have a sales force of 2,500 people, 25 people. I don't care what it is. One guy says the wrong thing. We're all going to get sued. It's nuts. It's nuts that I'd just like to ask you some questions. I have no idea how it works. I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in that, James. So answer the questions. I can't. So it's only some corporate lawyer who's never done a thing with a client is the one who's going to freaking suggest what should be said in a communication with the public. It's nuts. No wonder why everyone hates the industry, because the industry is so full of crap that people are like, well, I don't trust anything they say because they never talk straight. They're always talking roundabouts. Freaking nuts, man. It drives me. Doug says he got 30 work days left. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So we had a question here from Adondo. Dan, he says, all right, so the strategy would be, we want to delay Social Security as long as we can. I was working with my man. Remember I said Joe, we were talking about Joe when I did my little video when I was on my walk today. He was, his thing is he was single, and we're like, no kids or nothing like that. And I'm like, well, we thought initially, he didn't, I thought it might be beneficial for him to take Social Security early, because he got no heirs to leave it to. Just, if he dies, it's all is gone. No big deal. But when we ran the plan, it's not. It went from a 74% success rate to a 95% or something like that to take it at full retirement age. And then it went to 99 or something like that at 70. So the issue is here, he's just getting ready to turn 60 a year from now or something, like 6 months, I can't remember. But anyway, he's about to turn 60 at some point. And so from 60 to 67, when it's full retirement age, he's got no income coming in because he's not going to take Social Security. So he's got to get some money coming in, and he's going to take it from, so he has cash doing the barbell, and he's got investments. He's got, I forgot, $350,000 of IRA money, something like that. Well, anyway, the issue is that he should take it from his investment accounts, because this is why he's like, he asked me, he goes, I thought you'd suggest I take it from my taxable accounts, the barbell, the cash. I said, no. Because what happens is once you go on Social Security, any amount of income you take from other sources, IRAs, RMDs, your required minimum distribution, those RMDs, when it comes to provisional income, and I'm going to probably, now that my hand is getting better, I'll show you what provisional income is. Someone had said they missed my man Sean up in Massachusetts said he missed the whiteboard. So I'm going to start getting that again. Not quite there, but here pretty soon. I can kind of feel it. But I'll be getting back in the basement and the whiteboard. But anyway, so the issue is when you start taking Social Security and you have these RMDs, not only are you paying taxes on your required minimum distributions, but those will also put your provisional income in such a thing where you got to pay taxes on your Social Security. All right, so now you got 10,000, 15,000 of IRA distributions, which add to your taxable income from Social Security. So let me draw it out for you real quick. Oh, by the way, if y'all, not trying to hawk this, but this is my Heritage Wealth Planning T-shirt. A couple of people said I should sell these on the Teespring thing. If y'all want me to put these out there for y'all, by all means, I'm happy to take your money, but I don't want to just do it if no one's going to buy them. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But some people said they like them. I actually like this. Pretty soft. Just kidding. If you like, I don't like tight shirts, actually. I like it large. So this is a large. So I'm 5'9", 185. 190, don't tell anybody. Actually 185, because I've lost 10 pounds of muscle because of shoulder. So if you all want one of these things and you're my body frame, and look, I already put a stain on there. I can't, that's probably from salsa. I'm just a big old pig when it comes to that. Why can't I keep my freaking shirts? Every time, literally, I could literally have salsa and eat it from a crane, all right? And just have the crane from there and just go like this, and it still dip on my shirt. It doesn't matter, man. I literally, I love me some freaking salsa, man. I could have myself in one of those, yellow things, for NBC suits, the nuclear biological chemical suits. And I'd have nothing, just all, and I'd still find a way to get salsa on my shirt. It's, I don't know why. It's crazy. I'm not really that much of a pig, but apparently salsa finds its way on my shirt and it just stains. But anyway, so if y'all want one of these, either put it in here or put it in the comments below, and it's easy to get. And just make sure if you're my body frame and you don't like tight shirts, you want an extra large. All right, so let's draw this up. So it's been a while since I've done this because I haven't been able to really draw much. So let's go to provisional income. And I got to remember how this works. I'm going to do it on the fly. So we're going to say a 40,000 of Social Security. All right. And we're going to say that's all the income you have, 40,000 of Social Security. All right. So what you do is you take half of your Social Security, which is still not that good, which is $20,000. All right. So half your Social Security is $20,000. And we're just going to say you're a single person. And that would be the 0 to 25. Anything 0 to 25 is tax free. All right. So if you're $40,000 and you're single, the first $25,000 of provisional income is tax free. All right. So in this case, you have no tax on that $40,000 of Social Security. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So we have 40,000 Social Security, no other income for anything. We take half of our Social Security, which is $20,000, and the first 0 to 25,000, if you're single, is free of any taxation. So this entirety of your Social Security is tax free. All right. I hope that makes sense. So now what we do, if let's just say we had a $10,000 IRA distribution. So now we got 40,000 of Social Security. I gotta get a better pen. 40,000 Social Security plus $10,000 IRA distribution. So now we got 50,000 total. All right. So now what we do is we take 20,000 of our Social Security plus a $10,000 IRA distribution. So now we have $30,000 of provisional income, $30,000. Now the first 25,000 is tax free. The next is at $9,000. I think it's $9,000. 50% of the next amount is subject to income tax. All right, so that leaves us the first 25,000 so we got $30,000 because we take half our Social Security plus all of our IRA. This could be tax exempt interest, so municipal bonds. It doesn't matter. So that gives us $30,000 as our provisional income. The first $20,000 of that amount is $25,000, is tax free, which leaves us $5,000 for this category. Half of that $5,000 will be going to our adjusted gross income. So in this case, half of that $2,500 will be going to our AGI. $2,500 will be going to our adjusted gross income. All right, so now we got $2,500 is our adjusted gross income. All right, but we have a standard deduction of $13,000, whatever it is. So $13,000 roughly, which means we have no taxable income. All right, because we have $2,500, it goes to our AGI. We subtract whatever our standard deduction is. That means we have no taxable income. And what that means is we better be doing some more conversions from your IRA or distributions in order to take advantage of the fact that you don't have any taxable income. So that's how it works. So with Social Security, the more we get, the less tax we pay. If you reverse them, the more you have from IRA distributions and the less you get from Social Security, the more tax you pay. Tomorrow I'll do a video on that actually down the base so I can actually draw because I think it's very, very important to understand how that works. And I'll get a better pen because this pen's getting old because it's literally, I haven't drawn on any of these boards for like 4 months. Now I can even drink in my right shoulder, which is great, but I'm still not quite to full. But anyway, that's what we want to do, Dan. So we want to minimize. So what happens here is, let's say you had $20,000 or $25,000 of IRA distributions on top of your Social Security income. So now that $25,000 of IRA distribution immediately puts you over the standard deduction threshold, which will also now tax that Social Security. And I've said it a million times a Sunday, and I'll say it again. That means once you hit the certain threshold, the tax torpedo, where you have $1 of RMD, of IRA distributions, all right, you got $1 of required distributions or just regular distributions, doesn't matter. But if they come out from an IRA, it could increase your taxable income, not by that dollar, but by $1.85, because now you potentially thrown 85% of your Social Security in taxation. It's nuts. It's nuts. but all these guys are there to protect the lower middle classes. Well, bullcrap. They've known about this for a long, long time. They haven't done anything because the pitchforks have been kept idle because we want to blame Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell for Social Security. They're going to take our benefits. They're friggin' taking our benefits as it is right now. It's crazy. And yet, just again, going back to my thing, is it's all politics all the time. If we can blame somebody else, we don't have to take accounting for it. But that's the fact what's happening now. If your income is lower, about 50,000 or so, you're going to pay double tax on your Social Security and your IRA. And so we want to avoid that. And the way to avoid that is to really start doing mass Roth conversions and whatnot, distributions from your IRA, and delay taking Social Security. So going back to my man Joe, though, it's like, all right, so you can take it at 67 or 70. At the end of the day, just take it at 67, man. That's what I was telling him. It's like, look, it's not going to increase your standard of living that much. It'll reduce your taxes a little bit, but at the end of the day, you might not make it past 75. We don't know. So you might as well just take it and be done with it. And that's what he's going to do. All right. Vanguard, supposed change of price per share of their funds. I don't know anything about that, Ken. It tells me that might be a Warren Buffett-ish thing. When Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway, they just had one share class, but it's so pricey, they had to offer their B shares. So they had BRK.A, BRK.B to allow us riffraff to be able to buy Berkshire Hathaway, to get 5 shares of it or whatever. Whereas before you had, I don't know what it's trading at, $100,000. Vanguard S&P 500 index probably trading at $300 right now. So that's the only thing I can think, but I'm not sure about that change about Vanguard. Have to get Sunday Fix right on Myrtle Beach. All right, sweet. All right, sweet. We got Brutta in the house. All right. Hold on a second. Yeah, I know. Lawyers talk. Exactly, Rob. There's a guy. Well, you told me about him, Viva Frey or whatever it is. I watch that guy all the time. He's a lawyer. I don't know if he's still practicing, but he talks to people all the time. It's freaking nuts. It's our own industry. We've just, and now there's a big thing in CFP board because this is problematic, and this will be a little bit inside baseball here, but the CFP board, Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards, of which I'm a CFP. I've been one since 2004 or 5. I think I took the exam in 2004, and I got passed, and it finally got approved. So you take it in 2004. It took 2 months for you to get find out if you pass. That was the first week of January 2005. So I say I was a CFP since 2004. Probably lying, but either way, I found out I passed in 2005. All right, be that as it may. CFP board has this thing. If they're not a CFP, you truly don't know. And they had some guy who's a disc jockey. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing was actually kind of funny. It was a good advertising campaign. The problem was they didn't back it up. In fact, if anything, the Wall Street Journal, they did a study of the thousands upon thousands of CFPs who've got disclosures on their record, as I've shared in a video before, and some were felony, not just accusations, but convictions. And that's a different story. If you've been convicted, I still challenge that to some degree, but you've been convicted by a court of law. But an accusation is not a conviction. And certainly the CFP board should be able to police up people who've been convicted of a felony, for heaven's sake. And never mind bankruptcy. I mean, if you've been bankrupt, you might have challenging giving financial advice. And so the CFP board it was lies, man. They said, they've been vetted by the CFP board of standards. They actually weren't. They absolutely weren't. So now we're sitting there with all the stuff that we could not do because the SEC, the FINRA, the CFP board of standards, now it just shows you it's all smoke and mirrors. They weren't doing it anyway. So the issue is now is the CFP board doomed? Simply because they were not policing up their own people. And the problem, of course, is now they want, it's like whatever happens, the regulation, like Sarbanes-Oxley, you all might not remember SOX, but that was just bad. This guy McCain-Feingold. I mean, every time there's an issue over here, the fix is always worse than what the issue is. Sarbanes-Oxley comes to mind. McCain-Feingold comes to mind. All this stupid stuff from DC, where their regulations were so heavy-handed they didn't regulate enough. So we're getting even heavier-handed. It's crazy. Man, we shall see. I don't know what's going on. I don't pay. I saw something on somewhere on YouTube talk about. I just don't pay any attention. So I'm sorry. I just know Jeffrey Immelt. All right, so here's Jeffrey Immelt, right? Big green guy. You remember watching football on NBC, and they had their green. They're going to shut the lights out for global warming. Jeffrey Immelt, because GE owned, they might still NBC, they're going to shut the lights out. They're going to have a minute off or no lights. And Bob Costas, that big old loser, all saying how bad the worth is boiling, and we're going to shut the lights off. And they had the little green peacock. And guess what? Old Jeffrey Immelt, how many planes did he fly? Not one, but two private jets, in case the one he was flying got was down for the count for some reason. Jeffrey Immelt had 2 planes flying them all over the world for old Jeffrey, while he was telling everybody else to turn their lights off for global warming. Hypocrite. So I got no gumption towards those guys. I know he's not CEO anymore, but it's all fraud, man. It's fraud from the top to bottom, but yet they're going to go after your old buddy Josh for, I don't know, saying you should look at the Wellington Fund. Oh, the Wellington Fund. Oh, my goodness. I've never. Where Jeffrey Immelt's flying 2 private planes, not just 1, but 2. Who's on the other one? Nobody, just pilots. Nuts. Nation's capital, Derry Bullock, right on, man. Going to see the Nationals. I haven't paid any attention to baseball. I know the Phillies. What's his name? Bryce Harper had a walk-off grand slam the other day, which is kind of cool. But I know the Yankees are kicking butt. I know the Astros are. The only reason I know that is just because I listen to Bill Burr's podcast. That's it. I don't know it. Sad, man. One of my boys just asked me about, what the All-Star break means. And I was like, for me, I knew that, he's 11 years old now. I said, just weird how he doesn't know. Cause for me, I knew all that stuff. And I said, yeah, I was telling him about it, but it's crazy how much I just don't pay any attention. What's my thoughts on Vanguard Dividend Growth Fund as a core holding? Yeah, I don't know anything about the fund, but I like dividends and I like anything that grows. So sure, I got no qualm with it. I'd want to know if you, Raul, if you got bonds outside of your IRA account, I'd say you want your bonds in your IRA. So I don't know how your asset allocation is, but I'm going to assume that you don't have any bonds. So let's just make that assumption. So yeah, I got no problem with it. Dividend growth. If it's Vanguard, it's going to be cheap. It's going to be well run. You are the owner of Vanguard. Obviously you and me combined, we couldn't freaking flush the toilet there with our lack of ownership, but at least we can pretend like we're the owners and Vanguard cares for us a lot better than some of these other firms which are publicly traded. At least Vanguard, you are the owners run the company, you and I theoretically. But I don't know anything about that fund specifically, but if it's a Vanguard fund, I got no qualm. Buenas tardes, said Carrie. Yeah, it's a Buenas tardes. That's Spanish for good evening. Did you all know? Or buenas noches. No, buenas noches, right? So I don't know what tardes is. Buenas noches from a Lonely Heart is a Dwight Yoakam song. That's a pretty good album, old Dwight Yoakam there. Hello, Portland, Maine in the house. Dana. Aloha, my man there. I think I got it from you, Matt Copley. I think I have a question I was going to look at that you had asked. I was thinking about addressing here tonight. +1 on the whiteboard. Do they come in marine? Isn't this marine green, Dustin? Yeah, I call it OD green, I think, right now we call it. 59174. Monterey Park, California. Sergio, I replaced my t-shirts regularly for the same yeah, right on, man. From Columbus, Ohio, says Patty, right on. Hazmat suit, that's right. But you remember the NBC suits, right? And then for y'all, I don't know if the Marine Corps uses NBC suits. In the Army, these big green NBC suits with these shoes. And what you'd have to do, you have to take out your mask and you'd have to put it on your head like in 5 seconds flat to qualify for the Expert Infantry badge, the EIB. So everyone in the infantry wants, I hate to say it, they want a CIB, a Combat Infantryman's badge. I didn't get one because we never went to combat when I was in the infantry. But the second best thing is an EIB. And the EIB, you have to do these tasks. Trust me, your old buddy Josh, never, ever, ever. I couldn't get that out and on my head in 5 seconds. I'm not that, I just don't have that flexibility or something like that. It's crazy. Never mind, I could never shoot very well. What else can I do? I could always land nav, which is weird. Maybe it was growing up in Peaks Island in Maine, going through the woods. I was always good at land navigation. Could never shoot. And frankly, most of that stuff just bored me. Oregon, Jeff's in the house. Is there a site you know of that shows what states give those over 65 a discount on property tax? I would just start there, Jeff, with smartasset.com and Tax Foundation. That's where I'd go. Actually, probably Tax Foundation I'd go first. But you got to go state by state. I don't know if they'll give you the rundown, the list, but both those, taxfoundation.org and smartasset.com. Salsa print on the front that nobody could ever tell. Right on, man. That's what Greg. A social, oops. Oh man, went to the Little League World Series. Oh, that's fantastic. And isn't that Omaha, Nebraska? No, was that Cooperstown? All right, so we got Cape May, New Jersey. Steve, what's going on, man? Steve. All right, hold on a second. Social network is important. Kids move away, friends move or die off. When you don't need help, you want a face-to-face conversation. Many financial planners are restricted on talking about reverse mortgage due to compliance officers. Yeah, absolutely. There's Heflin, my man Harley Heflin, who's in Kansas City. So if y'all need your cars fixed, there's Heflin Auto Repair. Harry Chews in the house. You got it, Dan. Mike C. It drives me nuts. The Dems claim we once had 7% tax rates and should again. No one ever paid 7% because there were so many. I completely agree with that. I don't want any more. Let's get rid of the deductions. Hey, Phil, what's going on, man? That's my thing. No more charitable giving deductions. No more nothing. Literally the old Dick Armey method. Here's your income. Pay this much. Keep the rest. That's it on a postcard. That's the way it should be. No more deductions. No more nothing. Because deductions just allow everyone to get. We know what's going on. I mean, my goodness, the idea that churches and the religious organizations and people like SPLC, that they're not politicking. I mean, come on. We know for a fact that's happening. And churches, too, for that matter. Hey, Josh, what do I think of the I don't know. Again, I don't know anything about the GE news. Sorry, Harry. I don't know. Who had written a book about the Enron / Arthur Anderson scandal that the prosecutors are way, way, way overly rambunctious. What's that lady's name? I forgot now, but she had written a book on the prosecutors who are on the Robert Mueller team, actually prosecuting the Trumpster. So, just between you and me, I'm never voting for another prosecutor. My man Rob is probably going to disown me now, but I think the prosecutors have too much power, and I'm never going to vote for a prosecutor. I just won't, because I think at the end of the day, if my man Glenn Reynolds from Instapundit said they can indict a ham sandwich, that's bad. That means the effort's all on you to prove your innocence, and that's not the way it should be. And Ms. Washington, hey, I just emailed you back. I forgot your name, Mushki. I just emailed you back. I did a video on Roth conversions for singles. So look at Matt Single or Matt Roth conversions. It wasn't under the Social Security stuff. So I don't know if you got the email or not. Robert Kiyosaki's recommendation to make money with. Oh. All right. This is going to be, I'm going to watch my people. I've never been a big fan of Robert Kiyosaki. I've never been a big fan of that guy. He said he went to the military academy in New York. When someone says the military academy in New York, what's the natural? You're thinking that's West Point. Well, it's the I think, what was it, the Coast Guard Academy or the Maritime Academy or something like that. I don't know. I don't like that. And some other thing, it's been 10, 15 years, but maybe it's been 15 years. Someone had a game I just never was a fan. So anyway, I haven't paid any attention to him. That's just my opinion. It's been a long time since I researched that, looked at that guy, but there's a bunch of stuff he had said 15 years ago I didn't agree with. I probably agree with it mostly now. I don't know. The idea of using debt to build wealth scares the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie to you. It does. Is CPA the most valuable title? Yeah, I don't know, man. You got CPA for taxes, you got CFA for investment management, and you got CFP for what I do, and then you got a CHFC, more for insurance guys, and CLU. I would say the hardest title would be a CFA, in my opinion, for investment management. That's the hardest to do, and I think that's the most. What's the highest sanction in terms of, if you can get CFA, that's pretty stellar, but it doesn't matter. That's the whole point. The thing with a CFA is a great designation to have, but it doesn't mean crap. I mean, just because they can't, this is the whole thing. CFAs, it's just all it is to validate active management. And it's irrelevant. CPA, public accounting, that's a tough one to get. But my wife works for a CPA firm, and man, the stuff she tells is like, damn, I don't know half that crap. But very few individuals need to know any of that. I mean, if you're businesses, you want a CPA for sure. But if you're just, Grandma Jones and whatnot, you don't need a CPA so much. You just need someone who knows what the hell they're doing. And I don't know how else you know that by other than their designation. So, Kevin, I'd say it depends on what you're looking for. CFP, the problem with it, man, I just always feel like I'm bashing it. Look, I've been a CFP going 15 years. And I'm glad I got it. But at this stage in the scheme of financial planning in the industry, the folks of the CFP, Certified Financial Planners, have used it to validate their credentials as if they know what the hell they're doing. And I don't see it. I just don't. I wish I did. I see it as a way to separate you from your money for the bulk of them. And that's the big fight we have right now, is with a lot of the brokerage firms have allowed CFPs to become, or their brokers to become CFPs, but they're not fiduciaries. And again, I talk all the time about being a fiduciary. I don't think that means much, but it certainly means more than being a broker, if that makes sense. Instead of just selling stuff, at least a fiduciary has a theoretical restriction on what they can present to you. I don't know if it's held into account as much as it should be, but buyer beware. That's all I gotta say. The problem is I talk to people all the time and they tell me about their guy they're working with, and there's such a nice guy. I hear that a million times, and that's the problem, is that there's such a nice guy, such a nice guy. He's a good guy. I trust him, but I just don't think he knows what he's doing, or I don't think he's not following up with me, or just, I don't know. But that's I don't know how you find somebody that is a nice guy that you trust, that knows what the hell they're doing. I don't know. And that's the problem, which is why I like the Garrett Financial Network, because someone who's going to hold themselves out to charge by the hour as opposed to assets under management, or as opposed to commissions, they have to have some level of confidence to be able to say, I'm worth $200 an hour, or whatever they charge. I'm a fan of Garrett Planning Network, and I think a lot of those guys are probably engineer types, where they dive deep into the stuff, and they might not be. And I don't know them. I've talked to a couple; they're fine people, but they might not be the most salesy. But I think they do care. And they do know stuff, and I think you can rely on their judgment and their recommendations. So I'm a big fan of the Garrett Financial Network for sure. Yeah. All right. So sorry late, says Kevin. 370 in the TSP, in the C fund. 370 K. I don't know. Is there a new fund at the TSP? K. I'm not familiar with the K fund. 65 in the. All right. All right. So it looks like Kevin's just asking if you just roll it over. Yeah. Oh, if I'm buffering, that means because there's a thunderstorm going on. Yikes. Anyway, so the old days of not rolling over the TSP, you don't do that anymore, because the TSP, the fees were so low, you didn't want to roll it over. But now those days are gone. We can buy ETFs, fee-free ETFs. It's not all it's cracked up to be, but it's pretty doggone close. And you have more access to your money. There's just no other way around that. The TSP, even with the TSP Modernization Act, or whatever it's called, it's not that favorable. It's just not. So I'd roll that over for sure. Max says, I read in a book, 2532 thresholds haven't adjusted for inflation since the 1980s. That's right. Yeah. They haven't, Max. So in 1983, when Social Security was dead to rights, Reagan signed the bill. And everyone blames. I find it funny. Everyone blames Reagan, but who was in charge of the House? It wasn't Reagan. It was a Democrat. So let's make this mutual. All right, don't just blame Reagan for raising tax on Social Security. No, it was a bipartisan legislation. But they didn't index Social Security taxation threshold. They didn't. And so we are still dealing with what it was back in 1983. Nuts. Clinton added more taxation in 1993, and you can't blame the Republicans, because Clinton, just like first 2 years of Obama, he had a full House with Democrats. That's just a fact. You can blame Reagan, rightly so, or unrightly. I don't care what you do. It's the facts. These are the facts. Reagan with a Democratic House, and I think he had lost the Senate in 82, if I recall memory. If my memory's right. Either way, he did not control Congress, or at least one branch of Congress. Now, Clinton controlled both, and Clinton, not only did they not fix it with indexing, but they added another layer to get more of your taxes. So remember, it used to only be a 50% you'd pay tax on. Now it's 85% you pay tax on. All right. So again, There's your working class Democrats always looking out for the poor. And this isn't to freaking give George Bush a free ride. Hell, he controlled both houses of Congress. 2000, 2002, I know that. I think he had a split Senate in his first term, but 2002, he had everything, right? And the Trumpster even, right? He had, Trumpster in 2017, 18. They didn't do crap either. So bipartisan failure to protect the lower and middle class taxpayers. Just a fact. And the same thing was with the AMT, alternative minimum tax. I mean, this is what everyone forgets. More and more middle class people are being sucked into the AMT. Your old buddy Josh was even when I was still at USAA. And then Trump got rid of that, thank God. He didn't get rid of it, but he said, no, we're not going to tax people in the higher upper middle class under AMT. It was never intended to be that. So Trump did get rid of that with the TCJA, but they didn't fix Social Security. And that's what I say. I say all the time. If Trump wants to solidify his legacy, the problem with Social Security 2100 bill is many, but it does adjust it. Exactly right. Just like you said, Matt, it does adjust, which is wonderful. And it gives, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but the lower people make, I can't remember what it is, but it does give a bonus to people on the first bend point. And this is what I'm telling you, that's smart politicking. I'm telling you, but ain't that smart? What's even smarter is to give a bend point increase for the second bend point. And I'm telling you, man, if the freaking Republicans had a smart brain cell in their head, which we know they don't, they would be on that like white on rice, and they'd be talking Medicare stuff. It's so frustrating. See the left implode, which is good because the left is bad. It's good to see the left implode, but it's bad when the Republicans are so stupid not to take advantage of it. It's nuts. And I don't get it. But that's the thing. I don't want to be part of that. You're either here or you're there, and I'm neither. I don't want to be there or there. I want to be for America, and America is better when our citizens are not taxed so much on benefits that haven't been indexed for inflation. So if the Social Security 2100 bill is the best we got, well, I'm all for it, even if it's sponsored by a Democrat. More power to him. My man Craig, he's coming on late. Freaking unacceptable. Exactly right, Craig. The reason for that was I post that video. Yeah, there we go. Looks like I'm buffering. Hold on a second. Okay, looks like we're back. Yeah. Well, I did need the rain though. So I'm still very fond of my retirement plan, but I did have a calculation mistake. It's like, it wasn't. It's still good. Don't get me wrong, but I'll share it with you here in a little bit. But I was like, damn, I thought I had it. I thought I figured out gravity. I thought I was Newton with the apple dropping on my head, but it wasn't quite there. All right, so I used to have the old 3-bucket strategy, and the Ray Lucia or whatever his name is, there's a book back there. He had a bucket strategy like this, which it's always kind of been in some parts of financial planning, the vernacular, the bucket strategy. Anyway, so what I'd have stocks, bonds, and cash. And what we do is essentially, and I've always liked this because it's just so, it conceptually makes sense. You're pulling from the cash to live on. It's going to be hard to do this. You're taking your interest from the bonds and refilling that with the cash. And then if the stocks are up, you're putting it right in there, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So you got, 2 to 3 years of cash. You're pulling down from it. All the interest of bonds are going into the cash. And then whenever the stocks gives you gains, you're pulling it into the cash. The problem is, I remember doing that in seminars. I've done hundreds and hundreds of seminars. Is that you just see people's face just like, huh? It's going to be too challenging. But the 3-bucket approach worked great because of the bond, stocks, and cash. And the bonds aren't going to give you growth, but they will give you income. I mean, that's just a fact. And it will give you a little bit of a cushion from the markets falling apart. So now I like this right here is a 2-bucket, where I use Wellington and cash, the 2-bucket barbell. Obviously, it's that's a 45-pound plate, and that's a 10-pound plate there, and that's the cash bucket, and that's the Wellington. But the reason I like that because the Wellington is 70-30 stocks, the bonds. So the Wellington, it serves the purpose that the 3-bucket approach does, but just makes it easier, if that makes sense. So you can't separate within the Wellington from bonds and stocks, but you can say at the end of the day, we got gains in this sucker. Let's move the gains over here. And I'm a fan of that. All right, so let's go back to what my strategy was. I call this the 8% rule. All right, so the 8% rule, let me just write it down. It's for, I tell you. So I'm in the initial stages of this. I worked on it for probably 4 hours today. It's freaking awesome. There was one point where it didn't quite work like I was hoping for. It still worked, just not to the extent initially I thought. I was like, damn, but it works good. All right, so what the 8% rule is, the 8% rule. Look, I'm not trademarking that. If someone wants to steal it, I don't care. My man Rob anyway, just I don't care. So what it is, you have 8% the first year, and then you reduce it by 0.2% each year thereafter. 8%, 7.8, 7.6, 7.4. Initially, I was going to do 7. I was going to do the reverse required minimum distribution from the life expectancy table of the IRS. I said, let's just do the 8% rule, because it's actually hard to find the life expectancy table earlier than the year 70 from the IRS. So I said, let's just do 8% and see how it shakes out. I'm telling you, man, it was, A, you never run out of money. B, you're spending more on the front end of your retirement, which is when you're going to want to spend more. Inherently makes sense. Not only do you never run out of money, it only makes sense you don't run out of money. Anytime you're taking a percentage of the asset base, you never run out of money. It's impossible to run out of money if you're taking a percentage. It's like if you're always going halfway to the target, you'll never literally reach the target. If that makes sense, let that blow your mind for a little bit. You don't even have to smoke dope to let that think and say, oh, the world is nuts. I don't get it. So think about it. Can I ever, if this side and that side go half and half and half and half, or this side goes half to this target, does it ever get there? Because it's always going half and half, right? So isn't that crazy? Like, oh man, dude, rock and roll, man, good time rock and roll. And that's the same thing. Oh yeah, because if you're taking a percentage of your assets, you'll literally never ever run out of money. You won't, which is the benefit of it. So in the 8% rule, and I ran the numbers here, and I won't share it with you yet, but I was like, okay, what if we're using the Wellington Fund going back to 1930? And the interesting thing was, what was interesting to me more than anything was that the 1930, it did worse than a 5% distribution adjusted for inflation. But in 1966, it did much better. And that was the inflationary times. I'm working on right now with 1973 and 74, and it looks pretty good there too. And I was like, I was stunned by that, because the 1930s were literally the deflation, i.e. depressionary times, when inflation was losing, you were losing. So and yet the 8% rule survived nicely. It just did not provide the same level of income as if you took 5% a year off and adjusted for inflation. And I'm going to do videos on this. Don't sweat it. But I was amazed by that. And it was a pretty significant difference there too, in terms of the 5% rule in the 1930s versus the 8% rule. And again, 5% just says you start in 1930, you took 5% a year and adjusted each and every year with inflation. Well, if you know what happened during the 1930s, there was deflation, a depression. And so what you were taking out 5% and $5,000 on a 100,000 portfolio in 1930, you were only taking out $4,000 in 1940. Does that make sense? You're literally weren't, your withdrawals were lower because there was deflation on inflation. But the 8% rule, it was okay in that time. I mean, you didn't run out of money. You still had money to spend. You're still spending money, but it didn't give as much as the 5% rule did. But then we fast forward to 1966, which was the nightmare for all. If you can survive 1966 to 1982, you're in a good place. And I was like, can we make this work with the 8% rule? And I was stunned. I was like, yeah, it worked. And you had. So I'm looking at 1966, we're starting with $100,000. We're taking 8% the first year. So in 1966, the market was down 6.6%. The issue, well, it's starting to pour out there, so just hang in there if you start buffering. But the issue must be climate change. We're having a thunderstorm. But the issue was you're taking out, so the market fell, but inflation is going to start ramping up its head. And that's why 1966 to basically 1982 is so bad, because the market did nothing essentially. I mean, literally nothing. And inflation was horrific. And yet the 8% rule, you were able to end the time frame. You had wait, hold on a sec. Yeah, $314,000 in your account. So you started with $100,000 and you had $314,000 in your account, and you're able to take $161,000 over the course of that 16-year time. And that was all the way up to 1995. So I mean, and again, I still got to get my head wrapped around this, but I was like, wow, that did significantly better than the 5% rule, because the 5% rule ran out of money in 1981. So the 8% rule, it not only did it not run out of money, you had 3 times your capital and 30 years later, and you were able to take $161,000 out. But the 5%, if you took 5% adjustable inflation, you ran out of money in 1981. And then if you do 4%, the 4% rule, you ran out of money. Where was it? I had it here someplace. I don't know what I did. Anyway, you ran out of money as well. I can't remember when, but I forgot. So the 8% rule survived 1966 to 1982, where the 5 and the 4% did not, if that makes sense. Again, the 8% rule didn't do as well as the 5% rule in 1930, the Great Depression. So now my next stage is what it do in 2000 and from 2000 to today, 2018. I don't know. And then I'll go to 73 and 74 as well. So I'm freaking stoked, because this is just using the Wellington Fund too. Literally nothing fancy. Literally going back to historical returns of the Wellington Fund. So we have 3 things happening here. We got deflation and bad investment returns in the 1930s. All right, so we got deflation, bad investment returns. 66 to 82, we have high inflation, bad investment returns. All right, 2000 and 73 and 74 will be part of that. 2000 and beyond are low inflation and bad investment returns for that aughts. Now we're back to the good investment returns. But you have 3 different mechanisms. Low inflation, deflation, bad investment returns, high inflation, bad investment returns, and low inflation and bad investment returns. So the 66 to 82 time frame, if you can survive that, high inflation and bad investment returns, that's the bogey, if that's what they call it. I don't play golf, but I guess that's what they call it, right? What you get, the hump you got to get over. If you can get over that, you're in a good place, man. And so the whole premise of this is, I was reading Wade Pfau's article from Stanford, the safe spending and retirement study that those guys did. And they did RMDs as your percentage of distribution. And I said, I get that, but when you're active in your go-go years, you're limiting yourself to the income. And then you have more and more income when you're getting older and older and older. But I think, can't we switch that around to have more income on the front end and reduce your income on the back end, which is exactly what happens anyway. People can reduce their consumption. Man, I can't wait for this to come out. This is freaking, it's, the 30s did it. Like I said, I had a calculation there. I was like, damn, and I was pissed because I thought I had it and I didn't, but still pretty good. All right. So let's see what we have here. My man Bruce says, great to watch. Thanks. Literally, do you follow any football leagues? I love the AAF, man. We went to right here. Ooh, look at that. Red Sox Twins. You all know who that is? Huh? Actually, who is that? Oh, never mind. I don't know who that was. So Red Sox Twins. That was from 2017. Go see the Sox. And I got my AAF tickets. I guess I don't anymore. Anyway, no more AAF tickets, but I love the AAF. I'm looking for the XFL. I don't know what's taking them so long on their team names, though. It's kind of annoying. But hold on just a second here. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah, by the way, that's your old buddy Josh in Panama, right there. A bunch of that's when we went to Panama, right there. I don't know why I have that sitting there. I think one of my kids need a picture of me to bring to school. That's your old buddy Josh's bunny right there. Y'all remember that? What's that right there? Huh? You remember this? So what we do is I steal this from my mom's purse. So you got the purple one was $5, the brown one was $1, and I think the orange one was 10 if memory serves. So what we do is we steal this from your mom's purse, go down to the store, and you'd only buy like a 5-cent piece of candy, and they'd have to give you 95 cents of cash. And then you take that 95 cents and you go down to the arcade games and you play Defender. Oh man, that hurt. And Galaga and whatever else they had. Defender, Galaga, and I forgot the other games they had. So, but I do. Oh, there it is. Atlanta Legends right there. So I took my boys. We saw the Atlanta Legends versus the Birmingham Iron. I love the AAF. I was stoked. I was very bummed when they got rid of that. But I follow NFL a little bit. I don't care all that much. I was watching the game today. Two of my boys dude, they had 27 penalties, and we're only in the third period, or third quarter. It's like, oh, this is crazy. Angelo, is there an update on the executive order for strength of retirement that asks the Secretary of Treasury to review life expectancy will be modified RMD? Yeah, I don't know, Angelo. I don't know. Sorry, man. Pure Michigan, right on. There goes my man from Pure Michigan. Never been up there, but it looks like my man Rob, always throwing money my way. Appreciate it, brother. You're a good man, Rob. I don't care what they say. Even though you're an attorney, you're all right. 1 second here. Ooh, wow. All right, hold on a sec. Wow, it went way. Okay, bonus. The good evening, right on. All right. So Kathy Edens is Mary, right on. All right, here we go. All right, so Pure Michigan, Mary, can't wait to see how you solve your retirement. Hang in there, Kathy. It's not solved quite yet, but it's getting there. Carrie, right on. Seeing Dwight on Sunday. Dwight on Saturday. I'm not sure who Dwight is. Dwight on Saturday. I don't know who Dwight is. Oh, Dwight Yoakam. Okay. Oh, yeah, right, man. Oh, La Pistola, mi corazón. No, that's Los Lobos. He does a song, Buenas noches from a lonely heart. Dwight Yoakam. And it's a song, it's a Spanish song. Doesn't he do that? I forgot. Oh, freaking awesome. There's a Spanish kind of music, not mariachi, but it's like Norte Americano or something like that. And they got, it's the Los Lobos Spanish version, obviously, is freaking fantastic. But they have, there's other bands in there. The Los Super 7, is that what they're called? Anyways, and Dwight Yoakam has like that kind of Spanish. Oh, I love it. I love that stuff. Old country music with some Spanish, like Rick Trevino and stuff. Fantastic. Good evening. Yeah. Who says a high school Spanish word? EAI blog and the excellent blog. Eagle, Idaho. Never heard of Eagle, Idaho. Sounds like it's freaking fantastic. And the Golden Mike, right on. Even Josh, Rich, always watching, always learning. Moved to Spring, Texas to Cumming, Georgia 2 months ago. Enjoy the North Georgia area. Right on, man. Cumming, Texas, a good place. Flat tax. Foam roller on my shoulder. I got this thing, Steve. Because I remember what you had sent me, but I got this thing on the Amazon's like a massager. Oh, that thing's awesome. It hurts in a good way. It's fantastic. It's getting better. It just, I can't like that hurts a little bit. It gets tight, and she's making me do like going behind. Oh man, that hurts. So she's making me go behind me and stuff, and it hurts, man. It sucks. No other way around that. I can't get under the bar. I imagine I could probably do squats if I wanted to, but I get scared because I don't want to rip that apart. So I'm basically just freaking being a loser. Have I done a video taking 401k distributions while in the same year converting part of it to a Roth? I can't figure how that works in taxes. I'm not Lisa. So Lisa B says 401k distributions and converting to a Roth. I'm not sure what you're not sure about how that work in taxes. It's everything you take out will be taxed as ordinary income. So if you took 100,000 out of the 401k, 50,000 went to your checking account and 50,000 went to the Roth, Lisa, you're gonna have a ordinary income on that $100,000. I hope that makes sense. I mean, whatever comes out of the 401k is subject to taxation, regardless of where it goes. Unless it's going to a regular IRA, then it's not. But if it's going to a Roth or your checking account, it's going to be subject to ordinary income tax. Are we back to supporting the idea? I'm not, man. I just, Bob, it's really, it's dependent on. So the question is, am I back to supporting the idea of Roth conversions, even for single retirees? It depends on the amount that you have in your retirement plans. It really, really does. If you don't have that much, I mean, I'll just throw 250 or below. And I'm not trying to look, if that's all you got, that's a lot of money. Please don't, I'm not disparaging you. That's more than I got. But it just depends, because if you have big IRAs that are going to be taxed as RMDs once you start pulling Social Security out, that's problematic. Now, on the other hand, if you don't have big IRAs that won't be taxed because you're exhausting those while you're waiting for Social Security to kick in, and that's going to be less problematic, if that makes sense. So it's just situation dictates. I know that's not what you're looking to hear, but it's situation dictates. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, Williamsport, that's it, man. Williamsport. Yeah, Williamsport, PA. Right on, Mary. Do you think Roth conversion makes sense if you retire in late 50s for a single person with a pension? So JD Thompson says, do I think Roth conversions make sense if you retire in your late 60s, late 50s with a pension? The pension usually is the problem that we have because the pension is going to eat up your standard deduction, JD. And I know who you are, by the way, but the pension is going to eat up your standard deduction. So you're not going to escape having some of your Social Security tax anyway, if that makes sense. Because if you have a $20,000 pension, your standard deduction is immediately eaten up. All right, you're gonna have $7,000 of taxable income just from that pension alone, and then your provisional income from Social Security. A part of your Social Security will be taxable as income. No other way around that. So the answer is I probably wouldn't do Roth conversions. I'd probably delay taking Social Security and just take my income I need to live on from my IRA. Now, if I have, if I only need 20,000 to live on, I got 20,000 for my pension. Yeah, you don't have to. You can start doing Roth conversions then, sure, without question. But it's the pension is a deal breaker in a lot of these Roth conversion discussions. I don't want to say it all the time. I'm not saying that, but the pension does take away from the standard deduction. So, but situation dictates. I mean, if you got, depends on the size of that nut you got in that IRA 401k. His big push is don't be an employee, be an entrepreneur, and learn how the rich pay no taxes. Oh, okay, Kiyosaki. How do the rich pay no? I don't get it, man. The rich pay no taxes. Yeah, if you literally look at the tax code, the rich, whoever those people are, 50% of all taxes are paid for by the rich. So this whole thing, they don't pay tax. I don't get it. We'll hear the stupid thing from Warren Buffett, lightning, that Warren Buffett, he pays less tax than his secretary. Well, because he's looking at qualified dividends and long-term capital gains versus ordinary income. Well, that doesn't mean raise taxes on other people. It means lower taxes on the secretary. Fool. No one's stopping Warren Buffett for paying more tax, by the way. My pet peeves are all these rich guys. I don't care who they are, saying we're so hoity-toity. We're going to give 3/4 of our estate to charity. I'm like, well, wait a second, man. Wait a second. Why aren't you doing that now, brother? At least Bill and Melinda Gates are doing it for the most part. I don't know what Warren Buffett's doing. I frankly could care less. I just hate the hypocrisy. The only reason you're giving it to charity because it won't be taxed a part of your estate. So you want to raise taxes. Bill Gates' dad in Washington State want to raise taxes. And, thankfully, the good people in Washington rejected that. But, soon that's coming. And I'm sitting there thinking, you can pay more tax, man. Just write a check there, Warren. Everyone loves you. So show how much this hypocrites. But the thing is, they all want to leave their money to charity because they don't want to pay estate tax. That's the issue. So get rid of all that. Say, no, you die. It's not going to charity. There's no deduction to go to charity. It's going to be taxed as part of your estate, and the IRS will get some. Why is Warren Buffett leaving a charity? He could leave it to I don't get it. I literally get it because he doesn't want to pay tax. He just wants the fools, the upper middle class, and the farmers of the world to pay tax on their estates who don't know any better because they think it's only for the rich people, and estate tax is always for the upper middle class. Look at Massachusetts. So we got some folks in Massachusetts here. $1 million exemption. All right, that's it. $1 million. Once you go above and beyond $1 million, your estate is subject to state tax in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That's including if you have life insurance. That's your 401k. That's your home. That's anything you own, and life insurance you own, it is part of your taxable estate in the state of Massachusetts. It's freaking nuts. So the Kennedys, they'll draw up these freaking charitable remainder trusts and all this crazy trust stuff. They'll hire people like our man Rob over here to draw up these fancy schmancy estate docs. What's the farmer out there in Springfield, whatever you're doing? You know what I'm saying? What's he supposed to do? He doesn't know, but yet his estate will be subject to taxation once it goes over $1 million. And in Massachusetts, it doesn't take much. Your home is going to put you halfway there, for heaven's sake. And the whole idea is being an entrepreneur is fine, but being an entrepreneur, you still got tax on both sides. A FICA, 7.65 for old buddy Josh as an employee, 7.65 for your old buddy Josh as the employer. You can't get around that. So being an employee, look, you should be an entrepreneur, absolutely, but being an employee, it does remove some of that taxation for sure. I didn't know it didn't work for Matt Single. What your base income? What if your base income with Social Security and pension alone is $73K or more? I don't know. It's hard for me to answer off the fly. My man Rob W. Speaking of Massachusetts, just like a guy in Massachusetts, always running late. Teresa says, I didn't know much here financially. Yeah, went to school with Dwight. Oh, right on. Teresa went to school with Dwight Yoakam. That's cool, man. That's cool. All right, Teresa. Imagine he's probably a big old geek, right? I bet he didn't have a cowboy hat back then. Because, to be a country singer, you got to wear a cowboy hat. The same guy that tried to warn the SEC about Bernie Madoff, Markopoulos, Harry, I read his book, found some accounting problems with GE. Yeah, Harry Markopoulos, there you go. He says GE might be going down. And we'll see. Main issue is long-term care policies, and GE has some real toxic ones that aren't being accounted for. Yeah, Genworth, they did issue a lot of long-term care policies. Black belt showed in, crappy old job, gets worse, 55-year-olds old, married. $1 million liquid IRA, 60K expenses, right capital has 75 to 9%. Can I leave my crappy old job tomorrow? Yes. Hey, Sandra. Yes, you can. Black belt showed in. You can leave your crappy old job tomorrow. Absolutely. If expenses are $60,000, I mean, just going off what you're telling me there, absolutely. But Josh, you don't know his allocation. But Josh, look, he'd have to run the numbers himself, but he's showing them right here. I don't know, but if you had $1 million, you only spend $60,000 a year, you can leave your job. And how do I know that? Because I start with, forget my 8% rule, we just start with 5%. That's $50,000 a year right there, 5%. I mean, you're gonna be fine. And adjust that for inflation if you want. Never mind the fact that you're gonna spend less as you age. Never mind the fact that Social Security is gonna kick in for my man Black Belt, and his better half is gonna get a portion of that Social Security too. We'll just say it's $25,000 between them. That's a no-brainer there. Yeah, right. Okay, Kevin got 370K. Okay, that's 370,000. Arizona, right on. That's your old buddy Josh is married, Cave Creek, Arizona. Do you recommend TSP? Just Vanguard. I moved to Vanguard. No, I like my man Dustin over at Jazz Wealth. I like Dustin. People I know who work with Dustin like him too. So, if you want some guy to be there for you, to I hate to say hold your hand like your baby, but that you can. He does a lot of educational stuff that is a regular down-to-earth guy. I'm a big fan of him. His fees are actually incredibly low, for sure. And I like Vanguard. So Vanguard, if you just want to do it yourself, just go to Vanguard, be done with it. If you want someone, that's going to charge us a fee, it's reasonable in that case. Dustin's fees aren't very high. And you want someone you can be, engaged with, run ideas by stuff. Dustin's a good guy for that. So both those guys work for me. Is there a way to invest in emerging market stocks without buying an ETF? Can ordinary people buy these stocks directly? Yeah, I don't know what stocks there would be, but sure, absolutely. What they call ADRs? ADRs would buy in, I think, more developed countries stocks on New York Stock Exchange. And again, it's been a long time since I've done that, but I don't know if emerging stocks, but yeah, you'd have to do research on that. My man Tom says he quit last April, just kept enough of my 401k and transferred to the rest from the IRA. Pulling the 401k first until 59.5 in order to avoid. Yeah, right on. So let me just refresh what Tom Major is saying. I call it, what Tom Major's his middle name. You know what his last name is? Tom Major Payne. Remember that movie, Major Payne? One of the best movies ever. Major Payne. That's Tom Major Payne. It's actually not, but that's pretty funny. Some guy says, you should keep the jokes to professionals. Look, man, if you have these jokes, more power to you. If you don't, I don't care. I just, they said what comes to mind. Oh, man. There's a guy I used to actually died from a heroin overdose I was good friends with. And remember Scottie Pippen from the Bulls? He called him Snotty Drippin'. Snotty Drippin'. That was classic. Every time I think about, oh my goodness, we'd always come up with names. And I just, oh my goodness, Scottie Pippen, Snotty Drippin'. Tell me that's not classic. So next time you think of Chicago Bulls, tell me not gonna think of old Snotty Drippin'. And my wife and I are in a highfalutin steak bar when she's working for a big mutual fund firm in Phoenix. And we went to this highfalutin steak firm, a steakhouse, I forgot what it was called. Anyway, in Phoenix, and there's Scotty Drippin'. And I said, hey, I guess because I didn't tell my wife, I said, hey, man, look, there's Snotty Drippin'. And she goes, who? I mean, I said, Scotty Drippin'. I so used to call him Snotty Drippin'. Oh, my goodness. It's funny. All right. So Tom says, just remember when you separate from service after 54, you have access to your 401k as long as you don't roll it to an IRA. And IRS rules are very explicit. Trust me on this. You can have access to that 401k sans, that's French. Get it? French, because we got some Spanish speakers on here. Buenas noches. Sans, French. That means without penalty. Now, you still pay tax on it, but without penalties. So do like my man Tom did. He said, keep enough in the 401k to pull from it so you don't have a 10% penalty. That's only if you separate after the age of 54. You can't separate at the age of 52 and then start pulling money out of your 401k without penalty. It doesn't work like that. You can only separate after 54, i.e. 55. All right, so my larger point, though, if the Social Security's taxable threshold adjusted to 100 for the marrieds, then much lower amount of my Social Security income will be taxable. I'm hoping the bill passes. Yeah, I don't think it's selfish, Mac. I mean, yeah, 100% right. If the Social Security thresholds are adjusted to $100,000, that means most of our taxes will be gone from Social Security. I think it's a wonderful thing, and that's why I wish the Trumps would get on that, because the Secure Act is going to pass. I'm not quite so sure about the Social Security 2100 bill. We shall see. Tom, yeah. My Morgan Stanley guy's a CFP. What the hell is all that? Yeah, Lee is he comes from the insurance background, man. So what happened was he had a CHFC and a CLU, which are both insurance designations. Then he realized that the American college, who I think issued those, lost out in the battle of designations. So he said, well, hell, I better go get my CFP so I can show that I'm not just an insurance guy. And now the American college has this thing, RICP, which is Wade Pfau, Michael Fink or Finke, who used to be from Texas Tech, and a couple other guys I follow put that together. So the RICP I'm fond of that. I'm done with all that stuff, but that's where they look at using home equity, home reverse mortgages and stuff. So I'm a big fan of the RICP. All the other stuff is it's a way to put on your threshold that you know a thing or two, which is fine. But if you don't employ that with using common sense, you could have an alphabet soup of designations and not know how to talk to people, and that's not good. Buffering because of freaking lightning. My man, again, thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Rob says, thanks for all you do to empower everyday working people with complex issues. So if anywhere you are burning the hole to give me money, like my man Rob here, the super chats, I accept super chats. And like my man Matt Christensen says, when he goes through this, he goes, because they're greedy capitalists, they only take super chats for $10 or more. I don't know if y'all ever watch Matt Christensen. He does a live stream right at the same time now. Matt and the blonde, I forgot her name. I like those guys. They're pretty funny. Actually, kind of crack me up. So my three guys like Sticks, Hexenhammer, like my man Tim Pool, and then my man Matt Christensen, more of the up and coming political analyst, which I enjoy quite a bit actually. Sticks is a nut. He's so Tim Pool, right? Yeah, Tim Pool. He's a big lefty to the not a stupid Antifa lefty, but center left. Sticks is kind of like me. I'm a Christian. Sticks is not, but Sticks knows more about the Christian faith than I think a lot of Christians do, which is the challenge that we have as Christians. You better know what you're talking about, because we are on the outside looking in now. And if you're trying to convert people, you better know the answers to some basic questions. And then Matt was a libertarian, was a lefty. He's become more to the right because of firearms prohibitions. He realizes that firearms prohibitions don't work, and they only disarm the people who need the arms at most. Isn't it interesting, though, going back to the reasons why other people push their firearm regulations in the 60s? even our man Ronald Reagan, if memory serves, because they were worried about the Black Panthers having firearms to protect themselves. And, you know, I mean, you got all these people out there doing bad things and all that, but, you know, back in the day, you know, people were worried about it, but without question, you have a right to protect yourself. And that's the whole thing about firearms regulation, which is why it's funny how they always want to take away firearms for the people who need them the most to protect themselves. And I find that to be a sad state of America, actually. And that will never change. It's just it ebbs and flows who is under the watch list, all right? But it'll never change. There will always be someone they want to deny the rights to own firearms. And that's not good. All right. Al says 300,000 is 401k, 25,000 HSA. Just paid off his truck. Good. Think about paying off home mortgage of 108 for my 401k. Yeah, I don't think I'd do that, Al, because that's going to be a pretty significant tax hit to you, man. That 108 you have to take out as one lump sum. And so that's immediately going to put you in the 22% tax bracket. And if you're single, it'll be higher. So I just don't see the benefit of doing that. I would just live off your 401k, let Social Security grow, and live off the 401k in order to pay the mortgage payment. Absolutely. But good on you, man. 108, and this only debt you have, you're in a good place, brother. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of 72Ts. My man Tom goes back to 72T works separate, the SEPP, separately equal periodic payments or something like that. I've seen them. I don't like them. I think they're a way for a lot of financial advisors to be able to. I never liked them. The people who are pushing them always kind of. This goes back to my brokerage days. The people who are pushing them will always push them as a way to move money into their ability to manage for a fee. So I've just always been negative on 72Ts. I'm willing to be convinced for sure. Will the Wellington still be around in 18 years, says Sandra? Man, I hope so, because I'm writing a book on it. So I want the book to be out there as a bestseller in 18 years for sure. With that said, it's been around since 1930. So, I mean, anything could happen, but it's hard to imagine it not being around. And that's why I like American funds too, guys. Sandra and, you know, other people are on here. What I like about American funds is their portfolios are managed by a group of people, not just one. It's not just Peter Lynch or what's his name, Ed Owens, who used to run the Vanguard Healthcare Fund. It's you know, like American Funds has 7 different portfolio managers, each responsible for 15% of the portfolio. I think Vanguard has a lot of similarities in that regard. Yeah, so 8% strategy. How does it work with RMDs? That's simple. Just you say, okay, you have your RMDs will be part of the 8% strategy. So a lot of people get wrapped around the RMDs. I frankly have never understood why this is so complex. Frankly, you have to take out some money. So let's just say your RMD is 3.7%. Well, you know you got to take it out, so you take 8% out. If all you have is an IRA, well, there you go. If you have to take 3.7% from your IRA, then you take 4.3% from a non-IRA if you have it. I mean, it's just that simple. I'd never understood why the RMDs are always a bugaboo for people when I do these videos. It's weird to me because I'm sitting there. I mean, just take it out. And people assume that if they take the RMD out, that it has to be spent. And I said, I don't get that. You can take the RMD out and just put it in your brokerage account. You don't have to spend it. So let's just say, you know, your RMD, we'll just use a 10% RMD and you're only taking 8% a year out. Well, you have to take the 10% out, but the amount that you don't spend, that 2%, I'm not talking taxes here, but just that 2% that's left over, just drop in your brokerage account. It's no big deal. Don't let the RMDs get you guys confused on this stuff. It's a problem that doesn't need solved because it's literally not a problem, if that makes sense. I get this a lot. Like, you missed RMDs. I'm like, I never understood that. And lastly, don't forget, RMDs are simple too. You can also do in-kind transfers on RMD. So we have, 100 shares of Berkshire Hathaway and you need to take an RMD out. We'll just say it's the equivalent of 2 shares. You call your brokerage firm, say, I want to move those 2 shares from my IRA. I want to put it in my brokerage account. They're going to say, you want us to withhold taxes? Of course not, because if you had to withhold taxes, if you don't have the cash, you'd have to sell it. You don't want that. So you just say, okay, we're going to take 2 shares of your 100 shares of Berkshire Berkshire A share class, and we're going to move it over to your brokerage account. You got to pay tax on the amount that goes out the door, but it's still sitting in your brokerage account. I mean, nothing has transpired. It's just now you have 98 shares here and 2 shares over here, whereas before you had 100 shares over here and none over here. It's just not a big deal. Obviously, you're gonna have to pay tax on the 2 shares you moved out of there, but that's fine. You don't have to sell stuff. You certainly don't have to spend it. A lot of IT guys in my field here. It's weird. I know there's a lot of engineers, a lot of IT guys, a lot of folks in the energy business too. So that's pretty cool. Josh, given Wellington is a 60, it's really a 70-30 fund if memory serves. And given bonds are very expensive, why are you comfortable with a 50%? I don't think Wellington is a 60-40 actually. Let's just take a look on that. When you're sitting in the cardiac unit, decisions come much easier. Okay, Jim says when you're, for some reason, when you're sitting in the cardiac unit, decisions come much easier. So let's just take a look here real quick at the Wellington. All right. Well, looking forward to my modified barbell approach. Yeah, Craig, right on. It's all this stuff gets modified. There's no, I wish I had all the answers, but it's always a work in progress for sure. So hold on just a second. ELX. There we go. So we're going to look at the Wellington Fund, the fact sheet on Vanguard, and that guy is okay. Here we go. All right. Portfolio right there. So let's take a look. Right now it's well, they don't make it easy. So between 60 and 70 stocks, I guess. 65-35 is what it is right now. 65-35. Yeah, I mean, the only reason for simplicity, Mac, I mean, it's just a simple, it's keep it simple, stupid. It's part of my 3 bucket strategy, which I always liked. But, with that said, I mean, there's nothing wrong with going 100% stocks. When I ran the numbers, when I did my spreadsheets from 2000 through the end of 2018, Wellington just shined. It shined it was like a city on the hill relative to, I ran a million different scenarios and Wellington just came out ahead. Now, will that come out ahead going forward? I have no idea. But Wellington from 2000 to the end of 2017, nothing came close to Wellington. It was nuts. And I did index funds. I did, I think the 25, where I had 25 in gold, 25 and a couple other things. I had 4 funds at 25% each, kind of like my version of the Craig Israelson 712 portfolio. That did pretty well. I don't think that beat Wellington, though. I think Wellington it was a shining star on the hill, man, shining city on the hill. Wellington just smoked it from 2000 to 2018. And I was stunned. Will that happen with the bond rates so low? I don't know. That's the question to ask for sure. Dude, okay, right on. Peter says, I'm 6 years old. Should I continue to fund my HSA as long as I have a high deductible plan? I would, Peter, as long as you got the cash flow. Absolutely. I'm missing people here. All right, hold on a second. Nah, Secure Act didn't die. That's gonna pass without question. Asteroids, right on, man. Galga, Dig Dug, Joust, right on. That was funny. All right, here we go. Once you have a president that's going to promote balanced budgeting and accept Fed rate increase that causes healthy. Right. Aloha, Josh from Joe Zip. If you hit max Social Security amount 128, 15 years later, does it adjust up due to the multiplier? Yeah, absolutely. And right now, I think it's 135, isn't it? 135 this year? Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly going to adjust with a multiplier for sure. Peter, if you did not take your RMD out in 2018, can you take the 2018 RMD this year along with your 2019 RMD? No, you got to take it in that year, man. Yeah, or else you're going to get hit with a pretty significant penalty. Absolutely. Yeah, Galago is my game. I love Galago. I could play that all day long. Have you ever considered doing videos on Latin American countries for Americans to retire to? For examples, Panama. I haven't, but I have Faith Dimmer, but I know a number of people retiring to not Singapore, Philippines, Portugal, Honduras, and there's another one I'm missing here too. Uh, Jerry said we would buy 10-cent Jolly Rancher sticks and sell them for 25 cents each. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. Buenos Noches from a Lonely Room. Oh, such a good song. Yeah, Chicago's in the house. My infantry platoon sergeant always said, you're a good man, sir. It's the rest of the world that's messed up. I'll show you what he meant by that. Belize, right on, man. Or Belize. Yeah, Belize. There you go. I knew a couple guys from Belize who I was in the Army with. Good guys. Good guys. I like it. But I like the US of A. I don't think you need that much money to retire here. Everyone thinks you do. I just don't think you do. And the reason we know that is because we have just real quick, my friends. If they surveyed you and you're retired and you said you were comfortable, doesn't mean you're living large, just means you're comfortable. And 90% of those people or 80% of those people said those were surveyed, they were living comfortable. All right. And we know the average income of these people is, we'll just say 45,000 bucks. I mean, what the premise that we're all going to be destitute, doesn't that in of itself just show you that all this other stuff is based on fear? Because the people who are there right now are comfortable. They're happy. In fact, as they get older, they're more comfortable and more happier. Now, maybe all of them have dementia kicking in. They don't know where they are anymore. I highly suspect that's not the case. I highly suspect what's happening as they get older, they spend less. They're like, yeah, life's pretty good. And then they get older, they relax some. The most fearful people are the people 55 to 64 because they're like, well, these people are telling me no way, Susie Orman, nah. And then as you get older, you're like, not so bad, because they've done studies. They've done. I mean, they research people. This isn't just me pulling this out of my butt. This is literally research they've done. Say these people, their level of concern drops and the level of happiness goes up. The peacefulness, and 80% are satisfied to some degree in their retirement. I mean, you cannot be going broke and eating freaking cat food and maintain satisfaction. I mean, those things are, I'm not going to say mutually exclusive, but it seemed to me if you're going broke and you're destitute and despondent, well, inherently you're not going to be satisfied. So you're going to be not giving yourself 80% of those people who are satisfied to some degree. This whole thing just frustrates me because I'm like, we look at real live retirees now and they're doing fine. But Josh, that's different because they have pensions. No, they don't. They don't. I'm just telling you, a guy on my YouTube channel said they had pensions. No, they did not. Some more did than they do now. But never, ever did the majority of people have pensions in the United States. Never, ever. It's simply a fake stuff sold by academics who want to remove your ability to control your own retirement plans. I mean, and this is what kind of ticks me off with the people at Boston College, the Center for Retirement Research. Their agenda, if you read between the lines, is pretty stark, in my opinion, that people can't do this on their own. They need academics, intellectuals to do it for them. And we had that lady, some lady, Teresa freaking Galdassi or whatever her name is, out in the new school. And she's a big lib. I mean, she's socialistic. You know, you are too stupid to manage your own affairs. Let us take care of it for you. They're feeding on the fear. And I'm going to read a video or do a video. I've been sitting on here in my browser. The Reality of the Retirement Crisis by the Center for American Progress. Now, who's the Center for American Progress? They're the big lefties out there. I mean, let's see if they have millions of Americans are in danger of not having enough money to maintain their standard of living in retirement. And the problem is getting worse over time. You think there's not some political shenanigans going on here? Millions of Americans are in danger of not having enough money to maintain their standard of living, and the problem is getting worse over time. Now, I'm going to go over this because I'm going to shoot it all over the place. It's all political to get you to be fearful, so that way you'll just get on your knees and say, "Yes, sir," bend at the freaking teat of the government to take care of you. And I find it frightening how many people fall for this stuff. And it's always one group of people with scare stories. Other groups of people have different scare stories, like we're all going to get killed by freaking Muslim terrorists, or the immigrants are going to come here and kill us all. And again, I'm 100% saying we need to get control of our immigration. Absolutely. And I got no problem saying we need to police up who comes to this country. But the idea that this white nationalist running under your bed, or the freaking we're all fearful of we're not going to be able to maintain our standard of living, or the Muslims are going to kill us. I mean, it's just crazy talk, man, just to get you feared, because fear leads you to be led. I just hate to say it, and it ticks me off. Anyway, so I just want to go back to the idea. Is my standard of living now, do I want to maintain that when I'm retirement? I'll tell you what, hell's no. I don't want to retain the standard of living retirement, because I don't want to have 4 kids in retirement. I want to just be me and my beautiful wife, Charlotte, sitting by a pool, freaking got ribs on the grill, you know what I'm saying, with be listening to reading the audio book on CD with Dwight Yoakam in the background, and maybe some freaking, we'll have the Pogues as well. And let's see, Charlotte, what she like? Oh, she likes Johnny Cash and Elvis. Never been a big fan of either of those guys, but that's it for me. We'll be sitting by the pool, or smelling the sea salt, just sitting there with a tuna fish sandwich, just reading a book. Seagulls, popping over my head, trying to get my tuna fish sandwich. And I get it from them, they're going to poop on my head. I don't really care. It's all good, man. I don't want to maintain this level of retirement. Anyway, that's my yap. Sorry. My man Tom is stacking gold and silver 20 years. Yeah, right on, man. And all the glory goes to the big guy and Jesus, who died for all of us. There's only one that wasn't fallible. And it wasn't you or me. Only one. Keep your religion to yourself. No, man, you don't want to do that. You want to tell people about your religion. That's what makes you wake up in the morning, is your love of the big guy upstairs who loves you, and he wants a personal relationship with you, which is what makes our faith different than all the other faiths out there, because our God says, I want to know you and love you like you. I want you to love me like I love you. And that might not be your God. I'm fine with that. That's up to you to choose how you see fit. But for me, man, I get on my hands and knees every day. I give thanks, and I wish I could do it. But your mind's going a million miles an hour, and I know I shut God out a lot more than he shuts me out. That's for sure. That's a pain to me. I do respect the analysis and back testing you're employing. I'm of the view, however, that all 20th century returns shouldn't be equally weighted with. No, Mac. So Mac Copley says back testing is a challenge. So let's just put that way. I don't have any qualm with that, Mac. The question is, what do you do? And that's where I come in. I like Wade's research, Wade Pfau, where they're using 5% real returns on stocks and 1% real returns on bonds. I think there's some validity to that. But that's forecasting. So we can back test to at least say we've had these 3 significant events that we can research and see what worked. Because those are pretty significant events now. And forecasting is just literally is a gamble. You don't know, and we have no idea. The one thing we do know is bonds. I completely, unequivocally agree. We know for a fact. I mean, literally, this is not debatable. Anyone who debates it with you is a lying to you, or just as ignorant. We know for a fact the 10-year Treasury right now is 1.39. That cannot be debated. What you'll get for locking up your money for 10 years in the U.S. Treasury. The only thing that could happen is that we get nuked and that money is not paid to you at maturity. If you buy a 10-year Treasury bond right now, you'll get 1.39. That's it. But we have no clue of stocks. You got no clue. It's based on earnings, dividends. It's based on greater fool theory, who's going to pay more for an asset, as all of these things come to mind. And the market's going to stay a hell of a lot longer irrational than you can stay solvent, is what many great investors have said. I think that was from Warren Buffett. 8% rule says, my friend Mushke from the great Washington State. Do I have this right? First year withdrawal, 8%, then each year reduced by a point. Yes, absolutely. What if market's down? I haven't gone that deep into it, my friend. The initial idea was if market's down, it doesn't matter. But I will mess around with that. Look, when I do my book on this, it's going to be on the You Can Retire in Wellington Fund. It's going to have a lot of different scenarios on there for sure. Market's down, but my issue initially was the only way you do anything is take it from a reverse mortgage. I said no, reverse mortgage. I'm just joking. Some people get fired up on that, but it's all good. It's all good. I like my man Alberto out in California, who challenges reverse mortgages, but he does it in a well thought out way. He sent me a flyer the other day, and I did a video on it, talking about reverse amortization, talking about, if you look at disclosures, you can see some of the risks there on reverse amortization. The house gets sold, and that's all legitimate objections that one needs to understand for sure. I think we can, swat those away somewhat easily. Not to the extent that you are going to pay. Reverse amortization is a big deal. No getting around that. And if you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to lose your house. I mean, these are factual things, and I think you have to know that. But what I liked about it is a reasoned approach to a different alternative, other than their scams, which is just silly on its face. And I find that kind of half-hearted analysis to be not doing an audience right to actually research this stuff. So anyway, the issue is here, my friend Mushke, and I'm drawing a bunch. Shayla, I forgot your first name, but whatever. Pardon my French, but is that my thought process was not to have to change anything, even when the markets are down, and that's why I'm starting in 1930, in 1973, in 1966, and I will start in 2000, because I want to see what happens when the markets are down with a sequence of return risks that you'll face for sure. And if we can survive that, going back to my man Mac up here, if we can survive those pretty brutal years, I think we're in a pretty good place. I mean, I don't know what else you can do. I mean, that's the thing. At some point, we just don't know. We're going to unknown waters. So the one thing you do is not have debt. I mean, literally, this comes to be that simple. If you can get rid of the debt, you won't have that cash outflow. And if you don't have that cash outflow, I have a sneaky suspicion you'll be quite surprised how little you need to live a comfortable life. That's just me. My man Rob says, before converting 401k to Roth IRA, you should convert 401k traditional IRA HSA. You can do that only once in your lifetime. Oh, okay. I think you sent me an email on this. I haven't read it yet, but you should convert 401k to the traditional IRA / HSA. Huh. I don't know anything about that. That seems interesting to me, though. That quote is so misleading. Warren Buffett's secretary is in the 32% tax. Yeah, it's where Warren Buffett says, I pay more. My secretary pays more in taxes than I do. Well, obviously the secretary is making big bucks there, Warren. So why don't you reduce her taxes there, big guy? Yeah, all right. So plant equipment depreciation. I mean, yeah, you can write off 100% of the first year now. And if you're going to deploy a tractor or something like that, what it used to be called Section 179 depreciation. I remember that was a big deal in 2003 on the Bush tax cuts. All right, you're depreciating. You're still going to sell it at some point where you have to be added back to the cost base. There's a lot going on there. Just because you're depreciating it doesn't mean that that you're not going to pay tax on that later on. But now, at the end of the day, I mean, you should get tax credits or tax. The tax code should be favorable for entrepreneurs, without question. Without question, I don't have any qualm with that at all because they're taking the risk. But I think it is. The capital gains tax is less than W-2 income, and thus it's more favorable for a person building capital gains assets than income assets because capital gains is only 15% for long-term capital gains, or 0 depending on what your tax bracket is. I don't think the Secure Act died in committee. I'm not aware of Jack. I think I think August recess, right on, Lauren. So my man Lauren, I think it is August recess where they'll probably come back and pass that pretty quick, I think. Buffett is a spokesman used to keep retail investors in the market. Buffett is a spokesman used to keep retail. What order do I pull from my, you always take it from your IRA before you take it from Roth. Absolutely. Yeah, man. Hey, Josh, S&P is average 7%. If we were investing for dividends, couldn't we say we'd be making 10% a year if we're getting 3% on dividends? Yeah, absolutely, Jack. So if the S&P, if the price appreciation is 7% a year, that'd be your earnings growth year over year, theoretically, and you're getting 3% a year on dividends. As long as you're reinvesting the dividends, yeah, you're getting 10%. In fact, if you look at the old-fashioned way of what the history of the market is, it's earnings growth. Oops, let me write this back. I mean, it's so simple, you'll be shocked. It's earnings growth plus the dividends equals All right, so we got EG, earnings growth year over year plus dividend. Literally, it's that simple. And that's a dividend yield, by the way, not the dividend payout, not the actual dollar, but the dividend yield. So you're getting 5% earnings growth, and then you can that's your real return. So 5% earnings growth, you get dividend yield of 3%. That's 8% return on stocks. That's a real return because we haven't factored in inflation there. So you would get 2% inflation. That's a 10% nominal. But that's how it works. Literally, earnings growth plus dividend yield. That's there it is right there. It's that simple. And if you look, going back to the history of the modern era of the stock market, and I'll say 1926, it's like been that like clockwork, man. You do have some capital appreciations, what's called your increase in PE ratios. And then you have your decrease as well, but those are floundering. You can't bank on that. So sometimes people are willing to pay 30 for $1 of earnings, and sometimes people are not willing to pay 10. And so you have some capital appreciation or depreciation depending on what people are willing to pay. But in the long run, it's just earnings growth year over year plus dividend yield. If you just lock that in, you should be pretty good. Lisa, regarding 401k distribution, Roth conversion, in the same year, the conversion guidance confused me. Make sure you have the cash to cover the tax bill. Don't use okay. Yeah, I mean, so ideally, we would like for you to have the cash outside your converted amount to cover the tax bill. But I mean, if you don't, I mean, it's still better to have the converted amount and have the money coming from your 401k to pay the tax. Absolutely. So everyone gets caught up in that too. They say, oh, you need to have the cash to pay for it outside in the checking account or something like that. Yes, it's better without question. That just means more money will end up in the converted account. But I don't have a bunch of cash just sitting there. If I was to convert money, I'd be like, I got to pay for my IRA or 401k. And so in that case, it's still more beneficial to do that, generally speaking. My man, Mike, did some software analysis, some spreadsheet analysis where I don't want to say proved it, but he showed that even paying taxes from the 401k was better in the long run to take advantage of the tax code from what you are today relative to the tax code, what you'll be in the future. So always remember, Lisa, if you're in a higher tax code in the future, you should convert. And if you're married, you're going to be in a higher tax code in the future, bar none. If you're not married, that's where the challenge comes in. Because if you're not married, we can't sit there and say explicitly you're going to be in a higher tax bracket in the future. So that's what it comes down to for people who are single, if they should do conversions. Are you going to be in a higher tax bracket in the future? That includes paying taxes on your Social Security. That's a little bit harder to figure out because a lot of times you're not that sure. But if you're married, you're going to be. That's all there's to it, because you have a married filing jointly tax filing, and then you'll be a single tax filer. So we know for a fact a married couple will be at some point a single couple. And remember, qualifying widows and widowers, you don't get 2 years after your wife dies to be married filing jointly still, unless you're taking care of children. I just can't stress you how many people are in a child in your home. So you're going to, that's where things can change. A lot more nuance that needs to be looked at there for sure. Looks like we're buffering again. Hold on, Jen. It looks like we're back. We're buffering. Buffy. Yeah, man. In your barbell system, how many years of cash you keep in one side? I like 3 to 5 years, Curtis. I find 3 is probably reasonable. 5 might be a little bit too much on the end. And what I mean by that is like, hey, let's say, I don't know, I got $100,000. I need $10,000 a year of income. You keep $30,000 in cash, $70,000 in stocks, something like that. But if my 8% thing works the way I'm anticipating it, then it's going to change things, and we shall see. Especially if my 8% works the way I'm anticipating it. Plus, if you have equity you can draw on for a reverse mortgage, then you want more in stock. So if you have a reverse mortgage at the ready line of credit, you don't need as much, if any, in cash, because you can pull it from your reverse mortgage. Then you can be fully invested. And that's going to be part of my book, is we're going to look at that scenario with reverse mortgages and the debt it accumulates. I get that, on top of keeping cash, because cash is pretty much a dead asset. It really is. After tax and inflation, you're not making money. And stocks are not a dead asset. We know this. Stocks can lose a boatload of money, but they can also make you a whole lot of money, and they should in the long run. We just don't know. But anyway, so 3 years, generally speaking. But we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. Adele says, I'm going to treat my TSP a little bit differently. I get a check every month and stay invested probably in the C fund. I got no problem with that. As long as you're not married, Adele, because if you have a survivor who gets the beneficiary participant account, and we'll just say, we'll assume, you're a man, Dell, and you have a wife, and she'll get a BPA set up for her. And if you got children, a lot of nightmares for them when it comes to the BPAs or leaving to a non-spouse beneficiary. So just keep that in the back of your mind, because it's going to be a challenge for your beneficiaries for sure. My man Dave says, still alive and kicking, living a good retired life. I continue to enjoy your YouTubes. Thank you, sir. So Max says he's using 72T with much success. Right on. I got no problem with that. What is a super chat and how do we contribute? I don't know. It's I think there's a little thing up there. I don't know. It's a super chat. It's like a way you can put money into my account, but I don't know the logistics how to do that actually. Even though I have done it myself. I think I super chatted with who was it? Someone I think I gave $25 to some person. I forgot who it was, but I forgot. I don't know. Sorry. Probably should have known that. Peter is 6 years old. Yeah, okay, we're going to talk about that. Would you put the Wellington into your Roth? Yeah, probably, Craig. I know the Wellington's got bonds, but really at the end of the day, it's just from a simplicity perspective, as I said before, I just like the Wellington. It's got bonds, no bonds in the Roth. I get that, but if I won't have Wellington, I won't do that. I'm 100% stocks and a reverse mortgage. That's what I'm going to have. 100% stocks and reverse mortgage with some cash on the sideline too. I think cash is a good thing to have. I absolutely do. So for me, it'll probably be 80% stocks, 20% cash, a reverse mortgage, and taking Social Security at 60, at 70. That'd be a pretty good place. That's what I plan on doing. So for me, 100% stock, well, not 100% stocks, but no bonds. I won't have Wellington. And the reason for that is even though Wellington's done well, even though it's simple, I'm a stock believer. I really am. I believe in the stock market. I believe in the stock market. Even when the markets get hammered, I'm okay with that. At least I say that now. We shall see. Which is one of the benefits about having some other income coming in, by the way, from annuities or even working a part time or doing blog posts or whatever, because it can remove some of the fear. If you have a steady stream of income coming in, it doesn't have to be much. It can remove some of the fear from a stock market chaos. And my man Kevin from Rochester is in the house. Sandra gave me $1.99. Thank you for that cup of Starbucks, which I'll take advantage of mañana. More Spanish speaker. Did you all think you'd learn French, Spanish, niet, huh? No, you didn't think so, did you? In Russian? All right, man. My man Rob, good news. I'm now leaning towards starting a YouTube channel when he retires. Won't do it. He's an attorney, my man Rob there. But I want to chronicle my transition from retirement to sailing the world. That is cool. Now that would be, I love to. Let us know when you got it up there, man. I'd be happy to show that, to share that, Rob. That's fantastic. Linda says from earlier today, oh, Linda, what made you, what jumped out at you about my message there? Was that the one where I was doing my 25-minute yammering, which I tend to do? Yeah, it's buffering, Lisa, just because all right, Frank's being let's get rid of old Frank then if he's being a troll. Let's see. All right, so Lee, I'm not sure. I hope I didn't miss some people here. Harry, peaceful 62 and peaceful in the U.S. of A. Yes, ma'am. Passive income. Hey, my man, I haven't seen this guy for a while. When you speak of people retiring on Social Security, you refer to people who are also getting Medicare, not early retirees who live off investments. Yeah, I mean, you got to get health. I mean, you don't have to. There's no law to have to get health insurance anymore, but But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, health insurance is going to play a role for sure. I don't deny that in the least, my man. That's a challenge. What I'm just reading someplace about the Trumps are expanding short-term policies, and I think this might be something to look at, my friends. I haven't done much research on this other than when I was looking at the stupid ACA before my wife got her job at the CPA firm. I looked at the short-term plans. I said, these look pretty good. I don't know that much about them. I just know that they look pretty good from a cash flow perspective. My man, who I know who he is, says, before you retire, you worry because you don't know if you'll have what you need. Once you retire, you know what you have. Man, right on. We'll just call you AB. All right. So my man AB says, before you retire, you worry because you don't know if you will have what you need. But once you retire, you know what you have. And I also think once you retire, my suspicion is once you find out what you spend, you're going to be probably quite amazed that's not nearly what you expected. I don't know that. I've never retired, but my having worked with the retirees for many, many, many years, I found that to be the case a lot. Like, oh yeah, I don't need that much to live on. I'm just telling you, man, I have a suspicion the reason us in the I don't even know what generation I am, not the baby boomer, and I'm not an X, I don't know what I am. But anyway, I'm 49, so whatever that is, we're so worried because like we think we need this level of income right now to retire, and we don't need that level of income to retire. All right. I missed some people here. Sorry, guys. All right. Looked at that from the first Google answer presented. Okay. Hey, okay. Here, man, I missed a lot here. Sorry, guys. All right. So here we go. Well, if your RMD is more than the percentage you have for those older ages, that reduces over time. Does money still last? Sure, because JD, if your RMD is more than the percentage you have, you don't have to spend it. You can just put it into a brokerage account. I hope that makes sense. Just because your RMD is this and you need this or that doesn't matter. You don't have to spend the RMD. You got to get out of the IRA, but you don't have to spend it. Does that make sense? You can literally, it has to be removed, but it can just go from IRA umbrella account to an account that's getting rained on with taxes. That's no big deal. It doesn't have to be consumed, though. I cannot stress this enough. An RMD does not state you have to spend it. It just says it has to come out of this account called a tax qualified account or tax preferential account. That's it. That's it. It does not need to be consumed. I hope that makes sense because a lot of people get confused by that with the RMD as if it has to be consumed. It doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah. So Tom's talking, Lisa B. Yeah. Anytime you're moving money from a pre-tax to post-tax account, regardless, be it a 401k to a Roth or 401k, just to your checking account, you have to pay tax on that. Marie Landis, late, just like those people in Pennsylvania, always showing up late, man. Hey, right on. So my friend JD is 32 years in IT, another IT person. Shocking. Must be because all the spreadsheets I do appeals to you guys. When I hit 35, I'm out of there. Can't wait. All right, we'll throw you a party, my friend. No way am I going to respond for upgrading the IT just because I'm being told they have. When we see you kick old Splinty to the curb, sitting right there, but I'm not using old Splinty anymore. Oh man, still though. My dad just retired. Market is sitting on highs. Bond market is trash. Is bond market trash? I don't think so. Yields are trash, but that means the bonds themselves, the price is high. I'm totally, he wants to see gains. Doesn't everybody want to see gains? I'm totally stressed on finding good answers for him. I mean, the S&P 500, what's the trailing 12-month PE is what, 18, something like that? That's not that high. The forward projections on earnings is 17. That's not that high. And the bonds aren't trash. And if you own bonds right now, you're loving life from a appreciation perspective, but it doesn't matter. It's all going to come back down because bonds mature. We know what happens with bonds. They can go up and down, but they always come back. It's always gravity. A bond can go up, but it's always going to come here. It will always be there. So just because you have a capital appreciation, it's not a long-term appreciation. It's all fake because it will come back down. It's no other way around that. Jeff's been a software engineer, architect, blah, 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 for almost 30 years. Once I'm done, I'll probably never look at a computer again other than YouTube. Right, Jeff? You got to be here, man, because Yeah, support your friend old Josh. Sandra says, smash the like button. Good point. Smash that button, please. Let the YouTube algorithm know that at least you appreciate, maybe not my financial planning acumen, but maybe my humor. Ooh, course update. Yes. Okay, Jax. Yes. So now let's think about that, because I'm going to do a video down the basement tomorrow. We're going to write some stuff on there and see if that works pretty good. If it does, I'll start the course up. Absolutely. Yep. This really set me back. It really bummed me out. This summer has been bad, man. I mean, it was good, but people say, how can we do so many videos? Because I don't work out. I mean, I used to work out, not every day, but I still, I can go on my walks, and I do videos on my walks, just yapping. I work out, an hour and a half down there, and do research, work out, read a book in the middle of workout and stuff, and that take an hour and a half out of my day. Now that's gone. I don't have an extra hour and a half to spout away on this stuff. No FICA paid on high health savings account with high deductible health plan, better than a Roth, as you'll never pay tax on contribution. Yeah, no, absolutely. HSA, which we got to go back to Rob's thing about you can roll over from a 401k to an HSA one time. I don't know. If that's correct. I have no reason to doubt it. I just don't know. If so, that's fantastic. My man Harry says asset prices are historically inflated. Yeah, I mean, all things are inflated. That's the problem that we have here. I mean, housing, real estate, bonds, stocks, everything's inflated. I mean, there's no getting around that. But I mean, the facts are, what drives stocks are earnings. I mean, this is the issue. Earnings drive stocks. So, bonds, we know what drives bonds, which is just the date of issuance and the date of maturity and whatever the coupon is at the date of issuance. Housing, I mean, that's basically inflation. I mean, if you just look historically, inflation has been the driver for housing prices. That's all there is to it. Stocks are driven by earnings. As long as corporations have less regulatory mess to contend with, they're going to continue to make money. If they continue to make money, they'll either reward shareholders by buying back shares, increasing their dividends, or reinvesting in the firm in order to make more money. So, again, I don't deny any of this stuff about asset prices inflated. I just don't think inflated is necessarily means that we're going to be deflated, like we're in a bubble. I don't believe that, because the market's always in a bubble. I was reading this article the other day, my man Larry Swedroe. All this talk about recessions and inverted yield curve. It's the average time for the recession to kick in after the inverted yield curve has been 16 months. I mean, over a year. It's insane. And by the way, we might be in a recession right now. We don't know, and we'll never know if we are in a recession, because remember, it's 2 quarters of negative activity, of a shrinking market, essentially. Not a stock market, but a shrinking economy. It doesn't have to shrink that much, but it has to be 2 consecutive quarters. So quarter 1 and quarter 2 of 2019 are in the books. Both are positive. Thus, they weren't in recession. We know that for a fact. Are we in a recessionary quarter right now? We don't know. But it's got to be 2 quarters to be in a recession. So we got to be to quarter 3 and then quarter 4. And when will we know we're in a recession? Well, in the first quarter of 2020, towards the end of the first quarter, we would know that we were in a recession. And by then, are we still in a recession? I don't know. Probably not. But that's the whole point. I mean, what are we going to do if we hit a recession? Well, it's not like now we're in a recession. It doesn't work like that. Does that make? I hope that makes sense. It's not like it says, ring, 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 we're in a recession, get out of the market. That's not the way it works. We don't know if the recession is here or forthcoming. We have no idea. So it's all gamble. It's all speculation to assume that this is going to happen, because it's not. So the answer is that just stay in there. Be done with it. Say, look, recessions come and go. Stock market up and down comes and go. It all comes and goes. There's nothing I can do about it, so stay tight. 29 years software engineer. Another one, my man James. SQL Server. I remember my brother used to tell me about that. SQL Server, Visual Basic, all that is back 20 odd years ago. We were doing the first blog. It's called Death to All Tyrants. Death to All Tyrants. Doing the first blog. I truly believe we were probably the first blog. Is when I ran a heavy metal / hardcore record album label, and Death to All Tyrants was our e-zine. And so people would post stuff on bands and stuff like that. We'd do some trading with guys in Japan and Singapore and Russia and Brazil. They'd send us CDs back then. We'd send them CDs. And he said, this is how you set it up: SQL Server, Visual Basic. And I said, yeah, I'm out of here. I didn't like it. Before you retire, okay, we talked about that right on. Cool. St. Josh, patron saint of quitting your crappy old job. Pray for us. Pray for us. That's a pretty good song, actually. When you speak of people retire, okay, we talked about that. I'm more afraid of inflation than immigration. Yeah, someone had mentioned the book to me. I forgot what it's called. I put it on a post I did the other day, but it's coming about Japan, macroeconomics, something about their Japan and how they dealt with their issues. I'm looking forward to reading that because Japan is a test case that we don't necessarily have to have high inflation, even though we have an aging population and huge debt to GDP. Japan would be the test case that says all the economic textbooks in the past are full of crap. We don't have to have high inflation. So we'll see. Simple retirement. Yep. Keep it simple, stupid, man. Always got to do that, Dan, without question. Not saying you're stupid, but you know how it is. Amen, Josh. God bless. Lisa, I plan the conversion between 55 and 59, but I need to pull some money on to live. Well, yeah, I'm confused how much cash I need to cover those years, especially for taxes. At least that should be pretty easy to do. Just if you go to TurboTax, you can run a fake TurboTax thing and just say, look, I got this amount of income. I'm pulling this money from my IRA. It'll tell you exactly how much taxes you have to pay. It doesn't cost anything. They don't need any personal information for you. You can run fake stuff all the time. I did that a lot, actually, in March and April to show people how TurboTax works, and I'll do it again. Perhaps you apply an exponential function to weight your return, which gives more recent years more weight than it's all speculation, though. I mean, you have no clue what the returns are going to be. So at some point, you got to make a decision what you're estimating. For me, I think just like the guy, I say 7.5 on stocks, 3% on bonds, and 1% cash. I'm completely comfortable with that. Yeah, it's a 2% dividend, 5.5% earnings growth year over year. That's what I use. Avoid the 10% penalty, the rule of 55th. Yeah. Sorry for old Frank Willie's trolling. Not sure why he's a troll, but oh boy. Yeah, the vast majority of Americans in the top 10. Right on. All right. When America's standard of living is compared to the third world wages, you are correct, but most Americans are but within the USA. If you're living in America, you're living large. End of conversation. Okay, we talked about that. I'm overanalyzing. Yeah, at least I do think you're overanalyzing. Absolutely. Yeah, poverty is not here. Absolutely. How about a 6% cap on a fixed index annuity versus treasury bond? Yeah, I mean, a treasury. I mean, a treasury bond isn't going to get the job done, Paul, for sure. Why do we need this fixed index annuity? That's what I'm trying to say. Why do we need that? I don't know. You need it because you want to get a little bit more returns than bonds, but you don't want to go full-fledged stock market. I'm just not a fan. I think they're way overpromised on deliver. I don't like the caps. I don't like the percentage rates and all that stuff. They don't use dividends. It's going to be awful hard to get 6% on a fixed index annuity. It's just going to be. Tom says, I didn't bring anything in this world. I ain't taking anything out. Yep. Nope. That's the thing, man. Once you know how the book ends, it's okay to lay your head at night and say, God's got it under control. It doesn't mean it's going to be good for me. It just means when I get to the next place, C.S. Lewis talks about this. And the friggin' guy who wrote, I just keep forgetting this guy's name, man. He wrote the book, I Am Legend. I can't believe I'm forgetting that. But C.S. Lewis talks about heaven is so, a human mind can't comprehend how wonderful heaven's going to be. We can't comprehend it. And I'm to the point now the human mind can't even comprehend God. I mean, you can't. And, physicists and all this and, Stephen Hawking's and Richard Dawkins and all that. I mean, they can pretend like they know how this happens. They don't. They're just human beings. They don't know. I mean, come on. And we can't comprehend the creator of all things, of all time. You think about that. The idea, how arrogant you have to be to say, I know. You don't know. And for just Christians out there, when you're dealing with an atheist and they say, You want me to prove God doesn't exist. I can't prove a negative. That's what all atheists will say. That they say, you want me to prove God doesn't exist? I said, no. I want you to prove what happens when I die. Because you're saying that we just sit in the grave. You are making a declarative statement that that's what happens, that our soul just goes away. Dust to dust. Prove it. You're asking me to prove God's existence. Well, I'm asking you not to prove God doesn't exist. I'm asking you to prove what your philosophy is, that we just go to the grave and sit there for eternity. Prove it. I mean, see how this works? It's always us that fall for the tricks of the trade. And this is one of the things you'll learn as you get more and more as an apologetics. You'll say, what are the ways I can steer this conversation? Not so I'm all, and this is what Republicans and conservatives need, by the way. And this is why the Trumps are so good at this. He changes. This is where the Democrats are hating on Trump so much, because typically Republicans have been like Mitt Romney. I just want to be nice. And George Bush, I just want to be nice. And they showed Mitt Romney, Biden saying if the Republicans win, Romney, that he's going to put black people back in chains. You can't be nice when people are saying that freaking crap. It's nuts. They're showing Paul Ryan pushing old ladies off a cliff with freaking in a wheelchair. You can't be nice to these people. These people are not, you can't. And yet the Republicans of the old days, they just want to get along. No, forget that. And this is when it comes to the atheists. I'm not saying you got to be brutal, but you got to swing the conversation. Don't be on the defense. Be on the attacks. Okay, you prove to me. You can't do it. You can't prove it. There's no proof that we just sit there in the grave and die. We don't know that any more than I can prove to you that God exists. I can't. So let's start with the premise there, which is why I love my new podcast I just came across today, and see if I can't find it. Unbelievable. Yeah, this guy right here. Right there. Oh, man, that hurt. Unbelievable. You can see I got my Bill Burr podcast, my man Miles Beckler, and my man Bob Murphy. So we got Christian apologetics, but he has a lot of atheists on there. My man Bill Burr, cuss like a drunken sailor. Miles Beckler for YouTube stuff, YouTube analytics. So anyone's looking at YouTube channel, look at this guy. And then Bob Murphy for Austrian economics. Actually, I found out that Bob Murphy is on the board of the Infinite Banking Organization, which kind of bothers me because I'm not a big fan of infinite banking. I'll get into that some of these days. I have heard of the Trinity study, Tim. A million times a Sunday I've heard of it. Absolutely. It does not say you can take money out without touching principle. It absolutely does not say that. So let's be clear. The Trinity study does not have you not touching principle. It cannot. Whoa, no. No, it does not say that. That's if you don't pay tax. All right, so Corey, if you don't pay tax out of your IRA and have high taxes, won't the government expect quarterly payments? Yeah, I believe they will. Absolutely. Have a place for so income. All right, so hello, Josh, love your videos. Tejano Dallas, right on, man. Can you roll over a 401k to? That's what Rob just said. My man Rob said the same thing. Tejano Dallas. He said that you could. I don't know. I'm going with what my man says, but I haven't. He sent me the article on that. Well, I'll read it. If that's true, that's a flipping awesome thing. Awesome. Would I consider an autobiography for one of my next books? Man, I never thought about that, Dana. Maybe not. Some skeletons in my closet I'd like to keep there for at least a few more years, if you know what I'm saying. I never killed anybody or anything like that, but I'm not proud of a lot of stuff I've done. Let's just put it that way. And that's a wonderful thing about being a God, being a loving of God. He doesn't care. He forgives you. You just got to ask, say, God, forgive me. God would forgive freaking Stalin if Stalin had the ability to be humble enough to ask for forgiveness. I mean, God, that's what I'm saying. It's nuts. You can't comprehend. So you're saying Hitler can be on his deathbed, ask God for forgiveness, and God's going to let him in heaven? What's up with that? I don't want to listen to a God like that. I said, if Hitler is truly sorry and he accepted God as his savior and asked for forgiveness, God would forgive. And God forgives all of us, because while Hitler killed millions and a freaking horrible, horrible man, how about a guy that kills one? Is that a less horrible man can only kill one? I mean, at the end of the day, he's still taking a life. It's all bad. But it's not just killing somebody. We know Jesus says, looking at a woman, you're a sinner. And I'm telling you, if you're a man and you haven't looked at a woman, that's weird to me, because women are 10 times more attractive than us ugly fools, that's for sure. But you might be attracted to the same sex. I literally could care less. It doesn't matter to me. But for me, yeah, you sin all the time. You're like, look, oh man, can't help it. Doesn't mean you ogle. Just means you're a sinner because it's doing it in your brain. That's the whole point what Jesus was saying this stuff, because we're all sinners. And the idea that we have to follow these 10 commandments to be clean as a wind and stone, it's never going to happen. You're going to be a sinner from the get-go just because that's who we are. And so how you ask for forgiveness is you say, God, I believe that your son rose from the dead to open up the gates of heaven, and I wish you would forgive me. So remember, though, the devil believed in Jesus. It's not just believing in Jesus, not just believing in Jesus. The devil believed in Jesus. Satan did. The devil did not ask for forgiveness. So it's those two things, a twofer. You can't just say, I believe in Jesus, all good, all good. No, don't work like that. I believe in Jesus, and I need forgiveness because I'm a fallen man. That's how it works. Pretty simple stuff. Pretty simple stuff. Christianity doesn't have to be crazy. I'll say it again. I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. Was Jesus a human being? I think the answer is pretty unequivocally yes. So Jesus, if he was a human, then he died. I think we can all agree yes. So he lived and he died. Did Jesus rise from the dead? I can't prove it, but I think there's enough evidence that will lead me to believe that there's something there. And if it was happening like that, and forget everything else, why did God allow this happen? Why did God do that? Why did this happen? All I know for me is if Jesus rose from the dead after saying he's going to do this, and we have a number of people who denied Jesus while he was getting crucified, but then turned around later on and then gave their souls where they're crucified upside down, testifying on behalf of Jesus. These same men who previously said, I don't know this guy. I don't know who that guy was. And yet somehow, some way they came back. They said, no, Jesus is the way and the light. And you need to hear the story of Jesus. And they were so unfearful, they literally gave their lives, which is just odd. But that's made up. I don't know that to be true. That's what makes it fun, because you're like, okay, I don't know that to be true. Because if that stuff is made up, then we could certainly go back and say basically everything we have in historical literature is made up too, no? Anyway, it's fun to be a Christian because at the end of the day, it's all good, man. You just got to ask. You still got to live right. I mean, you can't just be sitting there like, God, I'll take care of you on my deathbed. It doesn't work like that. But, if you're truly sincere in your forgiveness, wanting forgiveness and believing in God, then you'll be good to go. Simple. Remember, C.S. Lewis says, when we say, thy will be done, we say that God, thy will be done. That means, God, I can't control it. Just do whatever you're going to do. And then God says, when you deny him, okay, thy will be done. Thy will be done. I exclude you from heaven. God doesn't damn you to hell. You say, I don't want your love. I'm going to go a different path. And God says, after so many years of trying to break that hard heart of yours, he says, okay, thy will be done. You're on your own. I don't know what happens after that. I don't know if later on down the road you can say, turn it on. I want to go back to heaven. I don't know. But that's what makes heaven so glorious, is that it's such an abundance of love. You can't imagine it. And as a human being, you can't imagine it. But when you get there, you're like, oh, man. And yet, if you look at the people who deny that, can they suddenly turn on a dime and say, forget it, God, take me back? Or I don't know. But that's all right. Would autobiography? Yeah, not yet, Dana. Appreciate it, though. Just not oops, I keep going. I got a couple more minutes. I'm getting thirsty. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, Tom, no true atheists, they just ignore God. I think most atheists are actually agnostic. They just don't, I think they're more agnostic. They just, you think about it. If you're going to be in academia today and you're devout, you can't. If you're going to be in academia today and say, I'm open to both sides, you're not going to go far. So you got to come out and say you're atheist, because that's the cool kids nowadays. I get it. We know this. I mean, if you're going to say I'm open to all the sides, yeah, well, so that means you're open to creationism. I mean, and I think they're agnostic. They don't know, but they don't want to say they don't know. But I mean, I'm sure there's some. I'm sure Richard Dawkins has convinced himself that he knows that God doesn't exist. That's fine. And I'd say Richard Dawkins, prove that God doesn't exist, but prove your side. And just as he would say for us to prove our side. My man Rob says he's so grateful for me. He used to think he could save in a 401k and get a Go Watch and retire. You've opened my eyes. I need a plan. Richard Matheson. That's it. Richard Matheson. Oh, that guy's fantastic. That guy's fantastic. Right on, Rob. No, I appreciate it, man. You talking to a guy today who said his hands were sweaty because he didn't think he could do it. And we ran the numbers, and he's good to go. He's good to go. And it wasn't because of me. He just, I was just the calming influence to say, dude, you're good. And this guy's not going to be living large. I mean, he's just, he just wants to go out in nature and walk around on the wet leaves on the Appalachian trails. He just been in a cube. This is the guy Joe was telling you about today in my other video, who went on the carnivore diet. And before he was doing that, he's a vegetarian. He said his health was just declining in front of his very eyes where he could hardly walk. And now he says, like what my man Jeff Rains was saying, he's like, he's probably never going to look at a computer again. And he says, I want to go out in nature and smell the wet leaves, walk, enjoy what I would call God's abundance. And this is where my Irish comes out, where I get tearful. But the idea that that guy was sitting there thinking he couldn't do it, when it's just, look, I'm not a rocket science by any stretch of imagination, but when you've done this long enough, you just see what the hell's going on. You're like, dude, you're going to spend, I don't know, $2,000 a month on living, $1,500 a month on rent, whatever it's going to be. And, $500 a month on healthcare. And you got $400,000 saved. Your Social Security is going to be $30,000 a month. Just cut out, get on with it, man. It's just too short. Because the sad thing is, if he doesn't do that, and then he does have, like my man Alberto, he said he knows 6 guys that died at their desk. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to die at our desk. Sad. Can you imagine your boss calling your wife saying, hey, got bad news. Your old buddy Josh has died at his desk. And she's sitting there thinking, man, we had all these plans. And now we can't do that. I find that to be horrific, and something that it angers me, because we're allowing that to happen because of all the poor people that in the U.S. and all the injustice and the inequality. Man, freaking tell me any time in humanity there wasn't injustice and inequality. The issue is, if you live in the good old US of A, you have the best life of any human being in the history of mankind. Do not tell me that you cannot make it work here. Now, there are some people who don't. I get it. There are some people who are down their luck. There are some people addicted to heroin. There are some people who have issues. I get that. The vast, vast, vast majority of us. So we are here on our own accord. If you can't make ends meet, it's probably because you took on too much debt, or you're spending too much. Maybe you have some addiction, something you shouldn't have. I don't know. I mean, look, I've been all there. Trust me. I've been there. All that stuff I've been to. Thankfully, I never got addicted to drugs, or else I'm sure I would not be here today. But you can change, which means sometimes it might mean bite the bullet and not having that fancy car to drive around the neighborhood to show how successful you are, even though you don't have a freaking 2 nickels to rub together. I don't know. But I have a sneaky suspicion a lot of us are better off than we think, and which is why Social Security needs to be protected for sure, without question. Not because we're relying on it to the extent what they made it believe like we are, but because it is a big deal that we paid into. It's not a welfare benefit. It's our flipping money. It's our money, and they need to make sure that money's there to provide for us when it's there, for sure. Southern California in the house. American funds are fantastic. American funds are fantastic. Tom says he saw all 3 movies. Richard Matheson. Oh, he did all those I Am Legend with Charlton Heston? I did not know that. Nuts, man. Yeah, that Will Smith movie is great. American funds are great. I love American funds. I'd much rather have you pay a front-end commission of 2.5% to get American funds and pay some guy 1% a year for assets under management, unequivocally. Much, much rather have pay a front-end commission for American funds. I'm not a fan of HELOCs to pay off home mortgages. I just not, because, well, this is for me, because whenever I got a HELOC, all of a sudden that HELOC starts being used for other things it wasn't supposed to be used for. That's just my lack of discipline. That's just a fact. But it's not just me. I've seen it happen time and time again. So I'm just not a fan of that, Al. My daughter's special needs. I'm retired military. It's important to set up a trust. Yeah, that's here we go. Good question. Very few times do I think a living trust is needed, but this would be one of those cases. Special needs trust, without question. Special needs, you want to make sure she's taken care of and gets the money she qualifies for. Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, special needs, you retire military, you need a trust without question. You need an attorney to draw that up for you. Do not do legal Zoom. Go find somebody. And my man Rob says I'll be a YouTube rock star soon. I had to talk to the other guy. He says, I can't believe I'm talking to a rock or a celebrity. I was like, that's kind of scary. Yeah, Robert Suarez. Any advice for a young investor? Roth IRA, my friend. Roth IRA, you get a $500,000 30-year term insurance policy. Roth IRA. That's it. $500,000 30-year term. Don't care if you're dead. Don't care if you're married. Don't care. It's so doggone cheap. You need to get it, and then you don't have to worry about life insurance for a while, if ever. In Roth 100% in stocks. Do not do bonds. Do not do bonds. No way. But no buts. Not for a young guy. Bonds are not good. All right. M says, how do I start the trust? You got to go talk to an attorney. You got to, M. Go talk to an estate planning attorney. JAG won't do it. They don't do trust. But you need to talk to an estate planning attorney. ACTEC, ACTEC, which is the American College of Trust and Estate Council, or I think it's American College of Trust and Estate Council, actec.org. That's Alpha Tango, Alpha Charlie Tango Echo Charlie. American College for Trust. Yeah, right. actec.org. And you can find a fellow for your county. Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of that. Right on, Al. We are born into sin, but we must do. We got to live like the wealth. We got to live. Federal judge I clerked for always used to say, no one ever says at their deathbed that they wish they had spent more time in the office. Man, I completely agree. Rob. That's why, even though you're a lawyer, Rob, you're still a good guy. We won't hold you accountable. And I think you like the Penguins. That's a little bit different, because Sid the Kid and the Steelers. Oh, freaking! My son said, "Why do you hate the Steelers so much?" I said, "Because when I was growing up, the Pats were never that good. I mean, Steve Grogan was always okay, but they're always, they just never did much. But my granddad had season tickets to the Raiders. So in the 70s, and the late 70s, the Patriots were pretty good too, but we didn't have a TV, so I couldn't watch it. But anyway, the 70s, the Raiders were kings, right? And so I had an Oakland Raiders trash can, had Ken Stabler, Dave Casper, all those guys on posters. I love the Raiders. I lived and breathed the Raiders. Love the Raiders because of my granddad. And then when they won the Super Bowl against the Vikings in 1976, Super Bowl 11, that was one of my best moments of my life because we borrowed a TV from a neighbor. I got to watch it upstairs. And this is back in the old days where you call in California, because that's where my granddad lived and I lived in Maine. It was an expensive thing, so we call collect. It was, and I remember talking to my granddad after the Raiders won the Super Bowl. It was one of the best moments of my life. I was 6 years old. 6 years old. I'll never forget that. It was fantastic. Well, I don't even know why I was talking about that. But anyway, the Raiders and the Patriots, I forgot why I was talking about that, man. That was weird. I just got off on a tangent about the Raiders and the Patriots. So we used to like the Patriots. So I like the Patriots. I like the Raiders. What does that have to do with anything? I forgot. Anyway, all right. Looks like we're about done here. Yeah, why? He was a wise man, spent more time at the office. Yeah, I don't know. What was I talking about? That's weird. That just fell off. I guess that's fallen off my mind now. So I like the Raiders and the Patriots. And the Patriots weren't that good. The Raiders were good. And I always liked the Raiders, but I always liked the Pats too. Steve Grogan, Stanley Morgan, Darryl Stanley. Andre Tippin, number 56. Right on, man. Oh, we're talking about my man Rob. Yeah, so that's what I said. All right, right on. So Rob says, my boy Liam says, why do you hate the Steelers? I said, because Immaculate Reception. Do you know how insane that was? Franco Harris picking up that freaking ball after being a Frenchie Fuqua, getting hit by Jack Tatum. The last play of the game, and the Raiders are going to win. Just think of how insane the immaculate reception was. I don't think people recognize, especially young ones, Snotty Drippin', right? I don't think people recognize how insane that was. The last play of the game, Bradshaw throws his pass to Frenchie Fuqua, who gets drilled by Jack Tatum. I'm sure it's Jack Tatum. And it goes flying into the hands, probably picked it off the turf, to Franco Harris. And he ran for a touchdown. If he gets tackled at the 2-yard line, they're not winning. The Raiders are going to win the Super Bowl. That's how crazy it was. It's insane. And so I hated the Steelers because of that. The Steelers have always been good. They're kind of like the Yankees. Always been a good team that you love to hate. You got to have a team that you love to hate. And the Steelers just, and then all those Steelers fans are kind of like Saints fans. It's annoying, man. Saints fans are the worst. Steelers fans, the worst. Like, you stupid, terrible towel. Anyway, so the Patriots then, when I'll never forget, so Brady was playing the Patriots in the AFC Championship. This is before we knew who Tom Brady was, but he got injured. They brought back Drew Bledsoe, and Drew Bledsoe threw this, I think it's a 3rd and 13 pass in the second half. That was over when the Steelers linebackers dropped right into Troy Brown's arms, I think it was. And see this on time, all these still curtain guys. But man, it was literally the pass, and we watched that on NFL highlight films. And it was another Steeler. Look at that, 3 Steelers. It was literally the pass that set the Patriots on for where we are today as the GOATs, as Tom Brady being the GOAT. I'll never forget that. Right there, I was like, man, that was such a good pass. Drew Bledsoe. Someone said you can't watch men exercise, not in tight pants. All right, my friends. Yeah, I do realize that my friend JD, most people can't stand the Patriots or Tom Brady because they cheat. So Tom Brady's got the tuck rule. Well, I was listening to my man Bill Burr. I did not know this, but did you know that he was reading the Ken Stabler book and talking about it, and that the Patriots got robbed by the Raiders in 1976 with a rough and passer on Ken Stabler? Now, I can see that being called now because I was just watching some preseason football. I can't believe they're calling these penalties. That's nuts to me. And that's why I can't stand it. But did you know? So karma, J.D. Thompson, karma. And so anyways, the tuck rule is fake. They gave it to the Steelers, or they gave it to the Patriots. Yeah, well, the payback's a mofo. All right, I got to log off too. All right, guys, we'll see you guys later. Deflect. All right. Blessings, y'all. We'll see you next time, next Saturday. Deflate. How do I freaking? Oh, right there. Okay, there we go.